Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Godcast, the Goodness Over Darkness podcast. I'm your host, Todd Armstrong, and on today's episode, I'm very happy to have this guest on. He has been podcasting for a few years now, and I have only recently come to hear him through a series of synchronicities. As soon as I heard him, I knew I had to have a conversation with him. I'm honored to have a seasoned podcaster on my show, and I'm glad I get to speak with this man. He is host of both the Overly Blunt podcast as well as CHRISPIRACY, and his name is Chrisxmatt. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. You actually got it right. I'm actually surprised. You said Chrisxmatt. You didn't say Chrispiracy. I like it. I like the intro. Thank you. You said seasoned podcaster. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Hey, well, yeah, I'm just starting out here, and you've been doing this. You have two podcasts now, right?
Yeah. Been doing this since 2017, but it's always like one foot. It's just like a little hobby. But this one, Chrispiracy, it hasn't even been a year, and it's really taken me to where I wanted my last one to take me to. This one's doing what I wanted my last one to do. So, we kind of changed the direction a little bit, but I'll bring the other one back soon. I need that balance in my life again. That normie balance,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm starting to learn to get some of that too.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very isolating when you first awaken. You isolate yourself in order to find yourself, I think.
It's definitely a journey. I feel like it's a journey that's needed. Everyone's journey can be different. You don't have to go down the darkest of rabbit holes, but me going down the darkest of rabbit holes has brought me to the light. I'm like so over that now. Like I don't like people send me stuff and I'm just like, I don't know, like cool, that's cool, Like what's happening with Trump and he's gonna get reelected. I'm like, I don't know, I don't know. If he does, cool. If not, I'm cool if he does. If he doesn't, I'm not surprised if he doesn't either.
Yeah, definitely. I feel the same exact way. Like it was just one big, psychological operation that occurred to get everybody to expend all their energy, and for what? To make us feel hopeless. But it was good because now we have to reintegrate back into society with our newfound knowledge, and we can awaken people the proper way.
Yeah, exactly the proper way. And I think it was more so. I think the psyop was more so to keep us complacent, to keep us from doing action, because we keep thinking, oh, something's gonna happen, someone's gonna save us, something's gonna.
Right.
None of that's ever gonna happen, bro. Like.
Yeah, well, I do think that it probably saved QAnon. Probably did save a civil war from occurring, because had all those people, gun-toting people, not had faith that something good was going to happen, things might have been very different.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's kind of demonized a lot of things too, So
yeah.
I tell people this, we can jump into QAnon, because I tell people about QAnon that I'm thankful for that journey. I'm thankful for the information that I came across. Maybe some of it is exaggerated. Maybe some of it is just to keep you thinking that, pedophilia is at an all-time high. And I'm not saying it isn't, but maybe it's just to keep you're harvesting your loosh, that to where, but the information, I do feel like it was valid to some point. Like some of the shit doesn't make sense. The emails don't make sense, and that's public stuff. But, at the same time, is it public because it's meant to keep us, conflicted with the other side, maybe? So I don't know, but what I take from QAnon is that it led me to where I am now. So I can never be mad at that. I'm just glad that I wasn't one of those people it was so hard for me to let go of it. As soon as I saw like, oh, y'all just keep making up different dates and making up different timelines. And the whole point is to keep us thinking that something's going to happen, but nothing's ever going to happen, because that's the point, where they want us to just relax, stay calm. And at the same time, they're doing what they always do, where they tell us in our face and we don't do nothing about it. And now it's just even getting more blatant.
Right. Yes. I used to get in little Twitter piece with people that were supposedly on QAnon. No, go ahead. The people that were on that were supposed to be sharing information, but they're sharing bogus information that they're not checking into. So to me, it was very much like, man, I don't really like, I don't identify with being with all these people. I just identify that we're all free thinkers, and we all have our different theories, and someone saying one thing, that doesn't mean that I should be classified with that person.
Right.
But then I did have a Q hat, and I did have Q shirts, and I went to Save the Children marches wearing it, and I had an article written about me too, but they didn't use my name or anything. But it was because they were writing about QAnon. So I'm like, it's so it was good in that it got me involved and it got me into something.
Right.
And I could tell I was on my right path, because 2 weeks after that occurred, Operation Not Forgotten in Georgia occurred, and that's where I'm at, is Georgia. So it was 2 weeks
Operation what?
after Not Forgotten.
Which is that one?
Remember, that was the first one where they saved 39 children in Georgia.
Oh,
It
okay,
was,
okay, yeah.
It was the first one of that string that the U.S. Marshals did all over the United States, and that was the first one, and it was 2 weeks after I went to my first Save the Children march, and it was like that's God telling me, that's a synchronicity for me. It's like,
right.
I just moved down to Georgia as well, and I wasn't really I just had awakened. So the QAnon thing was a very good thing to get me here.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it. And to be honest, bro, there has to be some level of truth to the QAnon information, because for the news to demonize it, to make a whole South Park special about QAnon, make the people look crazy, there has to be some type of truth to it, right? Yeah. I'm just saying, why go the extra mile to make these? And even like when they stormed the White House, they painted the main guy was a QAnon guy, and then the fact they put him in the South Park movie, it's just like, and obviously people are going to eat that shit up, but I think you have to get to a level of where you realize all this is orchestrated. And that's where I'm finally at now. But that's why I can't be mad at QAnon, bro. Like, QAnon did a lot in my journey. It really did. And, you say QAnon, people think white supremacy, people think alt-right movement. And to me, like, QAnon was also very spiritual. They were talking about like the Great Awakening. They were talking about the Great Awakening map itself, Antarctica. They got into a lot of stuff, conspiracy stuff that I'm into myself. So that's why I got caught up into it as well. But
it was like every conspiracy mixed together. It
started tying in the pieces for me, because it started like, oh, so that's why this is the way it is, because because it all goes back to the politicians and how they move and what they cover up, and it's just very interesting, bro. So that's why I love coming across that rabbit hole, because it really it kind of pushed me and it prepped me for this pandemic. Because imagine coming into 2020, bro, and being a quote unquote normie, right? So pandemic hit. Oh, you were?
In January 2020, I was just awakening. Say like October 2019, I started awakening.
But so you were only hip to like,
I didn't find out about Q until February and March. Like, that's when I found out about Q was last February.
Okay, no, that's a different perspective on it, because I'm thankful that because mine started in 2017, my journey. So I'm glad that I at least had 3 years to prep before the lockdown came, because when the lockdown came, I'm like, okay, they're playing, they're making the move. I wasn't like, what's going on? Oh my God, I never got scared. I never stopped doing what I did. I kept going outside. To me, it was more so trying to show people the information. So that's when I started getting heavy into posting the Q content. So that's because I was already on Q, but I never was posting about it. I was very quiet on supporting it. I was very closet Q supporter. And then eventually when the pandemic started, I started posting the post. The Corona flu stuff, the 2-year Delta stuff, everything, the Easter stuff. So I was going crazy, like, oh, Q Ben told us, Q Ben told us, Q Ben told us. I'm telling everybody, I'm getting everyone hip at work to QAnon. And I was like the people in the South Park movie where, yo, these pedophiles really out here. I was that person. So I look back and that's like, man, I'm so crazy that I was that person.
I was that person too.
Look back at yourself, bro, and think about it. Like, walking into work and people were like, what do you got? That's how I got CHRISPIRACY, because I would walk into work and people be like, what do you got for us today, CHRISPIRACY? And I'm like, I like that. Like, I'm gonna use that. I like that name. So it's funny because
it's funny.
I became that person at work. I became the quote unquote crazy conspiracy person,
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, but so it happened for me was I got laid off in
Mm,
March,
okay.
but I found out about coronavirus. So I was having my spiritual awakening before
Mm-hmm.
this conspiracy stuff. And then it was like I saw that it was the Super Bowl halftime show, and I was into ancient civilizations and studying all the symbolism and all that. And I saw it all, and I'm like, look, I'm like, that's it. I'm like, it's happening
Whose
right now. I was like, the
whose performance was
child.
it?
It was 2019. I don't know. I
Beyonce,
forget
huh?
who it was.
Was it Beyonce?
Was it Beyonce? No, no, no. It was the two, Jennifer Lopez and
Oh yeah.
Shakira, right?
Yes. Yep. Oh yeah, and the cross. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was showing everybody. I'm like, look, that's the symbolism that I've just been studying in ancient civilizations. That's a symbolism they use for pedophilia and child sacrifice.
Mhm.
And I was like, I was pointing it out. And I had like these photos of the little girl was on a slice of pizza at one
Yeah.
point, and they're kids in cages, and they're like, oh, it represents people at the border. I'm like, no, the fuck it don't. I'm like, that is about kids in cages,
In
literally.
Florida,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
in
It's
Florida
just,
too. You know, where the
yeah,
a big
yeah,
heavy traffic.
yeah. What was it, Miami, right? That one? It's just ridiculous that and people, and child trafficking is a very real thing, and it happens to people all the time. And it's not just trafficking, but molestation and all that. It's a
Yes.
very real
Mm-hmm.
thing. And
Mm-hmm.
when people start telling me, they're like, oh, it's a conspiracy theory, and the news starts saying it's fake, that's very upsetting,
Yeah.
because
I
no,
had a
that's a very real thing.
I had a guest on my show recently. I'm gonna drop the episode probably like in 2 weeks, but he was talking and he briefly said, 'cause we're talking about healing and trauma, and he briefly said, yeah, I was raised by my father from toddler age to 12, and then he just kept talking, and I'm just like, wait, Clyde, that was heavy, bro. Like, you gotta stop right there, because and it's true because people, I've had guests on my show come and say the pedophilia stuff is fake, adrenochrome is fake, so it's interesting to see a different perspective. And I think where I'm at with it too is like I just don't know, man. I think it's sad to say, but I think I have to witness it and experience it myself to be like, oh no, like they sacrificing kids out here. I seen some shit, and I'm not saying
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not
you're
true,
definitely right.
I'm not saying it's not
Right, you have
true,
to
and I'm not
say
saying
it.
it cannot
Right,
exist. I'm not saying people can't be that evil, but
right.
maybe it's not as exaggerated as we think it is, but maybe it's even more than what we realize it is. Who knows? I just don't know, man. I don't know. And with QAnon, I just really got caught up in believing that narrative, that timeline, believing the
Yeah,
Nasera timeline, believing that Hillary was going to be locked up. I thought she was going to get locked up in October after the 3-4 year Delta. The very first Q
mhm,
post was Hillary was going to get arrested at a certain time. The very first
right.
Q post was a lie itself, and and people continue to believe it.
So I got see, the thing with the early ones is I got like I was saying, I was going through this spiritually, so I was very untied to it. And what I was getting in my meditations was, at
Yeah,
first I was in like this, we were in this cave, I'll say, and there was a center, like, that mass, and there was a bunch of people, and they had spoons, and they were digging towards the walls but not looking at the center mass. And in the center was this computer, and everyone was digging but not looking at the computer. They're all going the wrong way. And it was like, that's QAnon. Everyone's going to dig, but they're going the wrong way.
yeah,
So it was, when I came to it, it was very much, I wasn't really attached, and I saw that there was several different groups were sending messages, that were actually typing the messages out, getting on there and posting. But what convinced me that it was real was Trump doing the things that he was doing, to verify that the posts were true.
good
That's
point.
what got me.
Good point.
Not that whoever posted it, we don't know who posted what, but doing all the stuff that he did, is I was like, oh, I can see that the media and all of Hollywood hates him for a reason. And it made perfect sense. Like, oh, they're all the pedophiles, and he's coming after them. And in that sense, and they're all attacking him. And it's
Yeah,
like, oh, and everything Q said about COVID is coming true. And it's like, and now Trump is verifying these posts, the proofs. And it's like, oh, they're working together.
The
But now
seal,
that I see, yeah,
like when it has a
all
seal and
of
when
it,
it doesn't have a seal.
so many
Yeah,
things.
so many things. Yes, yeah.
The
Yeah.
military guys meeting with Pence with the Q thing on his hat or on his patch.
The Punisher
There was
pin.
always those little breadcrumbs. Yeah,
Yeah. The
yeah,
bread.
and those
Yeah.
are
That's
always
true.
those things.
That's true. That's true.
So it fed into the hope. It fed into the
Yeah.
hope because we're like, oh, this is bullshit. This pandemic is not real, and
Do you
they're
think
just
it?
using this as a cover.
Do you think it got hijacked? Do you think it was a? Do you think it was a benevolent movement in the beginning? Did you think it got hijacked towards the end? Do you think they threatened Trump at the end? Or do you think it was all part of just what's supposed to happen?
No, well, yeah, ultimately, I think it's what's supposed to happen, but
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like
I,
I don't know why. I feel like there's some type of I don't know. Like Trump was super believable that he was really here to fight for us. I don't know why.
yeah,
He
I
was
know he
going against
was
the grain so
because,
bad.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I think that's why, and because he's a billionaire fighting for us, and it was like, oh, all these other people are after him, but
Yeah.
like that one photo, that meme, it said, in reality, they're after me, or they're after you. I'm just in
Yeah.
the
I'm just in the
way, and
way.
it was like that resonated so true. Uh,
Facts. Facts.
yeah.
Facts, bro.
So
That's so true.
it was very good theater, but now I see it was on purpose. They were working together, and when it was all a psyop.
Yes.
And I actually talked about this in my last episode. I just put it out yesterday that, General Flynn, his family is like suing mainstream media about saying he has connections. So it's like he absolutely gave it legs by doing what he did. It's like, oh, he's saluting, he's giving his oath to Q. It's like, oh, it's real.
Wait, he's getting sued? What happened? He's suing who?
No, his family is suing the mainstream media because they were saying he has ties to QAnon.
It's so crazy, bro. How the whole like the Q movement really like they really crumbled it. Like they really destroyed it. All the accounts disappeared. They all got purged. I was here. I was the other day. I was sitting here. I'm like, I wonder what happened with like, because I remember everyone was already hating Dylan because he I guess he played the movement, the
Yeah,
educating liberals. So I'm like, I wonder what happened with all these people. I tried looking them up, but I couldn't find any of them. I'm like, because they really banked off of QAnon, the brand QAnon. They were really set in stone that it was gonna be this big, be all, end all, save all. I
right.
definitely fell for it, bro, but I'm so glad that I didn't get emotionally attached to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad that I could walk away. I could see it for what it was. And inauguration day happened, and I was like, look, I'm deleting my Twitter app for a little while. I'm going to get in touch with myself again because, I was influenced into thinking that way.
Did you actually
I
think?
could see it.
Did you actually think that Trump was gonna? I actually thought they were gonna. It was gonna flip, and he was gonna get back in. For a second, I
Yeah,
thought it
I
was.
didn't think that. Yeah, because I'm like, and even my dad, he thought, and he's not a conspiracy theorist at all, and he didn't
Yeah,
like Trump, but he thought Trump was a dictator, and he's like, oh well, maybe Trump will try to pull something and not let Biden get in. So it wasn't even like just conspiracy theories at that point. Like
yeah,
everyone's thinking like Trump might pull something
yeah,
to stay in there.
yeah. But everything, bro, everything from the beginning, announced that announcing that Biden won through the media first, like just like it was just. And Tommy G had predicted that he felt like the media was just gonna say he won because if the media just says he wins, then everyone's gonna believe he wins, and then the
Right.
narrative's already there. So even if he didn't win, it's like, oh, Trump cheated or Trump trying to win, not trying to leave the office, and
Yeah.
they're good, bro. They're really good at flipping. Well, maybe they're not even supposed to meant to be flipped. Again, now I do believe it's just to keep us thinking that we have a say in all this, and we
Yeah,
don't.
that's true. Yeah, yeah.
We
Well,
don't have a say.
I think that they cemented that in what happened. Then they just, they told us lies enough to where people believed them. They're like, it showed us like, oh, there's nothing you can do about it, which I actually made us turn to spirituality more. And we're all
Facts.
like, now we're like breaking free, and we're like, oh yeah, we see through your conspiracy theory bullshit now too. And we see that was all a game. And now, you know what? We're not even going to play your game anymore. You know, we see right through you. We're taking our ball. We're going to create our own game.
Yep.
And I feel like that's what's
Spot
happening.
on. Spot on, bro. That's exactly what's happening. That's exactly where I'm at with it. I don't care, because before I got into my spirituality journey, you know, and that was when I first came across Q, but I was also very just heavy in the political, you know, like trying to just, I was telling everybody, you guys gotta know what's going on and politically, you guys gotta, because, you know, if we don't keep up to date with what's going on, we're gonna keep getting played, things are gonna keep staying the same. You know, I still fed that machine. I was still trying to convince people that we should kind of care about what's going on politically. We should know the players, and that's what QAnon did for me. Like, it taught me the players in the political game. It taught me who the bad ones are, like the ones that have paper trails, the ones that cover people up, the ones that are, you know, family members that are helping each other out and all that stuff. So that's what I do appreciate about that. But damn, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? What were we talking about before this?
About the spirituality, you know.
Okay, yeah. So I gave it too much. I gave it too much political wise. But then once 2020 came, still to the beginning, I was still giving that machine energy. But then I had my mushroom experience in like June, right before I had ended Overly Blunt podcast in April. I dropped the last episode because the pandemic, you know, came, and I already had I had a guest still booked, but everyone was scared already, you know, to go to people's houses in the beginning and everything. So I understood we didn't know what was going on. So I just ended up having a season finale in April, and then between April and June, I was kind of like, man, I still wanted to put out content because I feel like I like putting out content, and if I don't pod, I feel like I'm not doing anything, you know, on my spare time. So I'm like, how am I gonna come back? I was gonna bring a show just about conspiracy stuff to YouTube, because I started listening to this is around the time too I started listening to Tinfoil Hat. So I was listening to the Tinfoil Hat podcast, and it was really like waking me up to a different, like, just different shit. But I was still very like into like Bigfoot, into the alien invasion, into Project Bluebeam. It was just more the conspiracy stuff, the time machine thing. What is it called? What is it called? The yellow cube.
The yellow cube.
But what did Trump use to look in the future?
Oh,
looking glass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was believing all that stuff. So I was eating all that up. Like, oh, this is crazy. This is really real. The Anunnaki story. I was believing all that. You know, I was really trying to figure out how this all came about, where we're from. That was the journey that I was on before the mushrooms. And then when I was done with that podcast, I was like, man, I kind of want to talk about this spirit, like, you know, this conspiracy stuff. Like, this is what I'm into now. I want to just, you know, just because I eat, bro, I study that shit so crazy to where I felt confident to where I could do a podcast about this. So conspiracy wasn't even like a thing yet. I was just like, I want to do something like this. What should I do? Maybe it should be like a 10-15 minute thing, just even politically, like what's going on, to update people when Corona was going on. Because I really wanted to share the information that I was coming across, the articles and all the BS stuff and the alternative media. But you know, even now I'm like, that's not even believable either, you know. So you can make that up. So eventually, I at work is where I was doing that, where I was telling people, because everyone was asking me, because everyone knew that I was like a conspiracy person. So when COVID actually came and the lockdown came, they started asking me, Chris, what's going on? What's going on? And I'm just like, hey, bro, like, you know, they don't want Trump in office. It's the election year. And everyone's like, oh, he's political. And I'm just like, everything's political. Like, without y'all tripping. And so eventually, like, I started, that's when I was like, you know, I'm gonna start building up my Instagram and just start posting all this stuff. So I started posting a bunch of the cute posts and started just tying everything together. People asking questions, and I'm just like, yo, like, just people ask something, and I would always win arguments because I had my ammo just loaded up. You know, they would say something, I'm like, blah, 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 and they wouldn't say anything. They wouldn't know what to respond with. They would just leave it alone. So I never was that type where people were like in my messages really hating. But then I didn't like that. I felt mad all the time. I'm like, you guys need to know this. Like, shove it down your throat.
Right.
And I didn't like that feeling anymore. So eventually started calming down at work. But then I did end up converting some people at work. Some people actually started getting into the QAnon stuff and looking into the pedophilia stuff. And they actually invested time into it. Started texting me like, yo, this is crazy. You seen this? And they started following the same accounts that I would follow that showed all the pedophilia stuff and all the, you know, the symbolism shit. So it became a thing at work. And then I was just like over it. I was like, man, this is whack. This is, you know, nothing's gonna change. Like, it's cool that you guys know now, but okay, now what? Nothing's happening. And then after Easter happened, that's when I really kind of lost hope. I was like, oh yeah, nothing's gonna happen. And then eventually, they gave me that name, Chrisxpiracy, at work, and that's when I was like, that's it. I'm gonna do that. And then I came back to do Chrisxpiracy, but I didn't want to do a pod at first. I was like, I'm gonna stick to YouTube. I'm gonna do a show called Chrisxpiracy. But then I realized, I like to rant, I like to talk, and I can do a whole hour by myself too. So I'm like, I'll do my own pod. Like, I don't care. And I was already doing my other one, so I was like, I'll just do this one. I'll do my conspiracy stuff. And it was really like, even when the first few episodes were about like the Q, not even like me believing in Q, but it was more about like the political stuff and like not falling for the bullshit. And then within like the first 10 episodes, I get over that, and it starts getting into like the numerology, the astrology, like the different conspiracies, the line of purples, the plasma reset. It started getting into like the good stuff. But I don't even know why I said all that, but that's where I'm at now. I don't even know why I said all that, to be honest. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, now we can get straight into that. Yeah. With the numerology and astrology. See, I never studied it, but I know that it's somewhat, it does matter, the astrology and numerology and all that. And I think the numerology, the conspiracy theories get lost up in the gematria. I think that it's not, humans don't really know all these numbers, but the simulation that we live in, the matrix world, is setting all these things up. It knows, but no human can calculate all these different things. So I think that we sometimes get lost up in, they're like, look, they're all a part of it. And it's like, they don't know shit. Actually, they're just, playing their part in the simulation. They're the reflection of us that lines up for what the simulation deems we need in that role. That's just really what happens, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And but I do know that astrology matters for, the type of person that someone is, or, when they're born.
There's definitely a
I
sky
like
clock.
looking up at the stars. Yeah. That's why I think the sky is only a clock and a map. That's the only two things that it actually is.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
So when I like look up at the sky, like I start doing spiritual type things and I don't even realize I'm doing it. Like recently I started, I only cut my hair, or like I'll shave or trim up my hair on full moons or new moons. And I've been seeing how my hair grows differently and how I feel spiritually differently between the full moon and the new moon. And it's it's real. It's a real different energy.
But you don't think that's you don't think that's just an intention though, because you put the intention already in, like like, oh, I'm gonna cut it in a full moon because I know spiritually this is gonna, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, because I like, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. Like, I do like a lot of shit like that too. I always drop certain things on certain days, because numerology wise, even when I do things astrology wise, I pay attention to all that. So I get you, but sometimes I feel like it works out better because we believe it so much. The placebo effect, we believe it so much to where, it's gonna happen only on this time because it's my time and this is my time. And you put that power so hard into that, bro. So when you don't do it on other days, you blame it on that. See, I should have done it on full moon. I knew I feel better on full moons. Just, I don't know. That's how I look at it. That's where I'm at now with it. Where I tell people, I think we should just create whatever makes you feel comfortable. Whatever makes you feel comfortable. And like whatever is your ritual, whatever is your little practices, do whatever you makes it right for you. And I think everyone's different. Everyone likes different things, and that's where I'm at with it, bro. I think it's so beautiful that we can all create our own little worlds. We all do things our own way. We don't have to follow each other's methods. I love different minds and different people. As long as you don't inflict in my ways, as long as you're not disrespectful, I don't care what you do. Like, whatever you do, as long as you're moving with love, that's cool with me. If religion makes you move with love, even though I don't believe in it, I don't care. Cool, go do that. Go be a better person. Try to whatever manipulates you and to be a better person. I'm with that. I'm all for that, So it's just, that's where I'm at with it. It's interesting though. But it does probably play a part, your hair growing back a certain way in a full moon though. I wouldn't doubt it, Look at werewolves, they get off.
So I never thought of it. Maybe I never paid attention to it before, so maybe it would have been, but it wasn't different type energy, but I knew that they say when the sun or when the moon is waning, that
Uh-huh.
if you cut your hair, it'll grow back slower, and if it's waxing, it'll grow back faster, right? Or did I get that backwards?
If you wax,
Uh,
it grows back faster. Yeah,
okay, so waxing it grows back faster. Yeah, so
I think yeah.
that's what I think that's what my principle kind of was oh, let me see what
Mm,
happens on a new moon versus a full moon, and there was uh, a very different. So
yeah,
I've been doing it for like 3 months now, and I feel
nice.
the difference in me between the two of them.
Yeah.
But that brings me to so I heard on your podcast that I listened to an episode, and I partially heard the story about the full moon. Would
Yeah.
you
I mean, I'll tell it briefly because I've told it so many times. If people want like the full in detail story, you can listen to Demons Are Narcissists. I think that's episode 13. And you can listen
okay.
to episode 10, A Fellow Rooster. I've spoke about it in a few pods, and the lady that actually was here with me that helped out for the most part, Una, I've had her on the podcast as well, so you guys can listen to, that episode. Um, but yeah, basically, I put my trust into someone. I started working with someone, a friend of mine. Um, I'm not gonna say her name, but she's a very good friend of mine. She asked me if I wanted to start helping out, um, cleaning up, doing weekly cleanups. Every Friday, we would go to the river. I live in this city called Riverside in Southern California, and we would go to the river bottom and clean up all the just litter and trash and all the plastic stuff. And down there in the river bottom, there's a lot of unfortunate people. The less fortunate people that don't have homes and houses and all that stuff. So they're down there. Obviously, you guys do have your people that do their drugs and everything, whatever. Um, but we would go down there and feed them out. We would pass out food and just clean up around there and everything. And we would do it every week. And my friend, she asked me like, "Hey, you want to go?" It was her friend. She was like, "Hey, my homie, he does a weekly cleanup. I'm not gonna say the name of his nonprofit or anything like that, but he said he does a cleanup, and if you want to help out, if you want to start doing it with me." When she asked me, I'm thinking it's already a thing, like it's already a group of people doing it. The very first time, it's really me, her, him, and his cousin, and they were cool people. I know I ended up, everything was solid. I met them. Nothing gave me like a fishy vibe or anything. And obviously, it's not like I was really being all buddies with them. I was just going and helping out and then dip and that's it. It was nothing where
how long? How many times did you meet him before
that
he
was the
ended
first
up?
time I met him. That at that cleanup.
Okay.
That was the very first time like I
Okay.
met him and we said our names to each other. Probably were there probably an hour, and then I didn't hang out with him even after that. I wouldn't see him again till the following Friday, and I would always just go with my friends. She would pick me up, and
Okay.
we'd meet them over there. He never would come and pick us up or whatever. She would always come and get me. We'd go meet up with them, and I would literally just see him every Friday, and then eventually, we started he actually we started getting kind of closer because I was there from the beginning, and this little weekly thing did start growing. It was between like the five of us. Within a month, we had a solid like 13 15 people, coming out every
Oh
week.
wow.
Yeah, it was nice, and that's why I got invested. I was like, oh man, this is cool, because I had already had my mushroom trip too before in June. So and then I had started Chrisxpiracy July. So this is before Chrisxpiracy. This thing happened. Hold on. So yeah, so I met him. I met him. I met him before my mushroom journey, but I wasn't cool with him like that. I would just meet every week. It was still the early stages of the thing. But after my journey and I came back and whatever, the thing started growing, and I started getting more attached to the community because I saw it growing, and I'm like, yo, this is so dope. How I was here from the beginning. It was only like four of us, and look what it's at now. Like it's 15 of us. We would do like every it was just so beautiful, and every time we would start, we would make a big circle. We'd all give thanks. We'd all say a word. We all introduce everyone. Every week we had new people. We all introduce ourselves to the group.
That
um
sounds amazing.
yeah, so it was amazing, bro. It was super cool, and I enjoyed it because I'm like, man, it's crazy that now that I'm stepping into this part of my life, the spirituality and you know, becoming one and building community and trying to build with people that are with like-minded hearts and minds, and I want to make the world a better place and just take action, you know. And I wasn't planning it. I didn't have to really do much besides show up and just give my time, and I didn't mind doing that. You know, it's so much easier with, you know, have to plan everything out. Um, so I did that. We were doing that, and then eventually, we started getting cooler, more closer and everything, but it was still just a weekly consistency that we would see. It wasn't like we were hanging out. If anything, we would just hang out after the cleanups and go get something to eat, the whole gang, the whole crew, and that was it. It was never, oh, let's go to my house and hang here and I'll smoke with him, or, you know, smoke a jet. Nothing. It never got to like that until this one time he asked us if we wanted to we went out to eat after the cleanup, and he asked us if he asked me, and it was me, him, my homegirl that picks me up, and probably some other people that were there too. But he asked us, like, oh, you guys, we were gonna have a party here in my house, just for the whole people that help us and everything, and everyone, like, after a cleanup, everyone gets together and just comes here. I have a pool and everything, so we're just gonna have like a little barbecue here. So we were planning that, and then that was gonna be that following Saturday. It was actually wasn't be the next day, because this was Friday. It was gonna be the next day, and then no, yeah, and then he asked me, he asked us, like, he kind of didn't seem like he wanted to go do the party anymore, because he got invited to go to Mount Shasta. I don't know if you heard of Mount Shasta, but it's a mountain in Northern California. Yeah, everyone calls it like a vortex. You know, it's very spiritual out there. I didn't know this. You know, I'm not really hip to Mount Shasta yet. I'm very still newbie to the whole this whole community. You know, I'm still very fresh, and so we go up there. So he asked me, and like, oh, you guys want to go? And I'm like, nah, man. Like, I have to find a dog sitter. I can't just leave my dog last minute, you know, like, because we were gonna leave that day, like in a few hours, probably like 3-4 hours. He was like, well, let's take off and we'll get there Saturday morning and just be there all day Saturday, and we'll come back Sunday. And I was like, all right, cool. You know, I was like, I started thinking about it. I still didn't know if I wanted to go, because I never just go camping like that. I never just take off and leave. So I was able to have my friend, you know, house it. So I told him, hey, can you house it? I'm gonna go to do this trip. He goes, yeah, go ahead. I'm there. I'll take care of your dogs. Cool. I got that out the way. So eventually we canceled the party and everything. And then I ended up just going with him. Me and my homegirl ended up going with him. So it was us three. So we go all the way up there. Everything's cool. Everything's solid. We get there the following morning on Saturday morning. The reason I'm saying all this is because it's the backstory of how we met, and I'm bringing all the pieces to the story together. So we go up there.
Okay.
So we go up there, and then it was so weird because, you know, we go up there and he was gonna meet with somebody. He had someone that had invited him, and he had just invited us, like, yo, I'm gonna meet up with people. Did you come with us? All right, cool. And I knew who he was meeting up with. I didn't know her personally, but I knew who she was, because she's a shaman on Instagram, and I had followed. She's from around here, and I followed her, and she does like those bufo ceremonies, the 5-MeO DMT, the toad stuff.
Okay.
She does that type of healing, and so we pull up. She said she sent us her location, and her location was all the way at the top of the mountain. So we go all the way to the top, and we didn't find her RV. So there's a bunch of other people. So then eventually we parked where there was 2 RVs just to check if there was those, and one of them, the people weren't there. They were just, the RV was there, but they weren't there. And then the other people, when we parked, it was like 7 a.m. But when we parked, we met there was a guy meditating in front of his RV, and his RV was like facing like the cliff. So it wasn't really, there was nothing in front of him much. It was just like the end of the cliff. And so he's like just meditating, and then the guy that, you know, I'm gonna say homie, but he's not the homie, but, you know, the homie, I went, the one that, you know, it was me, my homegirl, and the homie, and that went up there. So he saw the guy and asked him, like, oh, have you guys seen, he said the shaman's name. So have you guys seen, you know, so-and-so? And they were like, and he was like, no, she's not here. I think you got the wrong spot, but you're more than welcome to just wait around and see, you know, if she calls you or anything once she wakes up. I know it's early. And then I guess his stepson, he was an older man too. I've had him on my podcast as well. His name is Jonathan. He heard him. He heard the name. And he's like, who are you looking for? And he said it again. And he was like, oh, I know her. You know, I've done healing with her. You know, I've done healing with her out in where I'm from, Riverside. And they were like, well, that's crazy. And he's like, yeah, I haven't seen her, but you guys are more than welcome to just to wait here too, and until you guys find her. So we ended up waiting there. It was like again 7 in the morning. They ended up making tea for us. They're super nice people. We hit it off with them too. They ended up hosting us the whole day there. We didn't end up finding the person we actually went up there to meet. We ended up just staying with them, the whole time.
So
And
you never met the shaman lady?
no. I never met her,
Okay.
but she's like irrelevant to the story, So because I
Okay.
think it just made it more magical because we went to a place that we were not expected at all. Like I said yes to this trip so last minute. So in my head, I'm thinking like all this is aligning so like weird, like this is so out of my comfort zone. But it made sense and I felt safe and I felt like my vibe was like, nah, let's just go with it. I was trusting my gut, so I was going with it. And so we're talking to them or whatever. But the homie that obviously that drove us up there, he sold mushrooms. So he took a lot of mushrooms with them. So we had a lot of mushrooms with us. And then when we got there and we're sitting down having the tea, he told me and my homegirl, like, hey, if you guys want mushroom, I got some mushrooms here. And we're like, all right, cool. So me and my homegirl ended up taking some. Within like 30 minutes, obviously, so you start yawning and everything. And we were obviously in the woods. We were in the top of the mountain. So I was like, and when I do shrooms, I need to walk around. I need to be out and walking around exploring. I can't just be sitting down. Like I really can't. So I started getting impatient and I started yawning and getting impatient. And the guy that was making the tea, the people that were hosting us, he was like, mushrooms kicking in. And then I was like, yeah. He goes, yeah, I could tell. I'm like, how? He goes, you're yawning. And I'm like, why is that? How can you tell? He goes, yeah, mushrooms need oxygen too. And I started laughing when he said that because they do, and I understood what he meant
Yeah,
because they're talking about the
wow.
mushrooms. Yeah, so I thought you yawn. And I was just like, man, that's crazy. So he was like, you guys should go walk around over there, like across the street, because it was like the cliff was right here, and the road was right here, and across the street was another like a campsite that you can go into. Like it was like the woods, but everybody like camps on the sides. And he goes, you guys can cross over. There's like the woods over there. You guys can just explore that if you want. And it was just me and my homegirl that were tripping at the time that it started kicking in. So we're like, oh yeah, let's go. So we ended up started walking over there, and then she takes her blanket and everything, and then she sets up, and I tell her I'm like, Jack, and I didn't want to be, I don't like tripping with people too. I like to be by myself. So I told her I'm like, we need to see where we're gonna meet up or whatever because I mean, and I didn't want to leave her by herself because I know how she gets. She's super lightweight. Like she gets super astrally and like levitating. She gets in the spirit realm. She gets so caught up in the spirit realm. So
Yeah.
but I told him like, are you good? Because I was like, you good? And she goes, yeah, I think I'm gonna be good. I'm like, are you sure? She goes, yeah. I'm gonna stay right here and just write in my journal and just do yoga right here in the sun. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go just walk around a little bit. I'll come back. I'll come back like in like 30 minutes. And then she was like, okay, cool. And I started, walking around, adventuring, my shrooms kicking in more. I ended up taking off my shirt and everything and putting it around my neck. I had my jacket too. I felt I felt like a jungle boy, basically just walking through there. I ended up finding like some logs that were like trees that had fallen. I'm just like climbing over them, I love talking to myself when I'm on shrooms. So I'm just like talking to myself, just tripping out on everything, on life, enjoying the sun just beaming at me. It felt so dope. But then eventually, when I got enough of that, I was like, I'm gonna go check back on my on homegirl. And when I go back, she wasn't in the blanket, and she wasn't on her blanket. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, where's she at? So so I see her I see her from a distance. Like I do see her, and she's like I thought she was doing yoga. She was like moving and everything, and to me, it looked like she was doing movements, right? And then so I didn't get too close to her. I was just like, I ended up stopping because I got worried. But when I saw her and I realized what she was doing, what I thought she was doing, I was like, oh, okay, cool. And in my head, I'm like, oh, so dope. She's doing yoga. Like she's in her element. That's so hard. Like I'm gonna leave her alone. I'm not even gonna go over there and interrupt her. So I ended up just leaving again. I'm gonna leave. So I ended up leaving and go do my own thing again. And then eventually I'm out, like just talking to myself, walking around. And I didn't go too far. I always just stayed to a certain area that was like, I love this. I found like this dope area. Probably they did rituals there or something back then. Cause it was like a big old circle and everything. Logs were broken and everything. And middle of the woods, Chasta. So I was just super intrigued by just everything. I'm walking around. I'm looking at the ants. I have like 3 videos in my phone where I speak for like 20 minutes. I'm just talking into the phone. I look at the ants and like, why can't we be like you guys? You guys all work together. Like I'm just tripping out. I'm tripping out on all this stuff. And eventually I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go check up on Jasmine. I felt like I needed to share love now. Like, I need to go check up on, I said her name, whatever. I need to go check up on her. And then eventually I go back. And then I still see her. I see her with someone else now. I see someone else with her, and they're like doing the same thing with her. So I'm like, oh, that's so dope. She found someone to do yoga with. Like, that's so fire. So I'm just looking at her, and I ended up recording. I have like a video. I have the video on my phone. I zoom in. And I'm just like, oh, look, she's in her element. And I'm all talking to the phone. And then eventually, from the corner of my eye, I see a little kid, right? And he's probably like I know him now. So he ended up turning 12 that week. So he was like 11 or yeah, he was 11. And and like he sees me and like he realized that I see him, so he kind of gets like spooked. But I think the reason I looked over there is because I think he hit like he stepped over a twig or something, so he made noise. So I look over there, and then and I was like, talking to myself in there. I was in my zone, So when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, like I'm being burnt, like he's like watching me. So I ended up just like I ended up just switching my whole mode. I'm like, hey man, what's up? I'm like, how you doing? He goes, oh good. And like I guess he had to talk to me because he saw that I saw him. And then he goes, do you know her? I'm like, do I know who? And he goes, her. And then I'm like, and then he was pointing at my homegirl, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's my friend. She goes, oh, what's wrong with her? And I'm like, what do you mean what's wrong with her? I'm like, and I didn't want to tell her, I didn't want to tell him like, that she's tripping on shrooms and stuff, right? So I'm just like, what do you mean what's wrong with her? I'm like, she's in her zone, bro. Like that's her thing right now. She goes, did you do mushrooms? And I'm like, what? And then when he said that, I'm like, did she do mushrooms? I'm like, wait, I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, did she do mushrooms? And then I'm like, look, and I started focusing more, right? Like I know my vision got clearer. It got more clear. And I realized, oh shit, she's helping her. Like the lady's helping my friend, like,
oh shit.
Yeah, like she was actually like holding her so she wouldn't fall and stuff. So I run over there, and then and then the lady, her name's Una. I've had her on my podcast. She goes, she has her, and she was like kind of even hesitant to like hand her over to me. She's like, I'm like, Jasmine, I'm like, you good? And she was like, and then and the thing about my friend is that she was tripping out, but her eyes were closed. Like I'm telling you, she gets very lightweight and astrally, so she was walking around with her eyes closed. She had taken off her shoes, her feet were all cut up. She was stepping over the twigs and everything. I was like, no. I walked, and she looked all cut up. And I guess the reason she was helping her is because when I had left her, I guess she started doing yoga or whatever. And I guess she found a log, and she was doing yoga on the log, and I guess she fell, and she rolled down the hill into their campsite. Because remember I was telling you that there was campsites in the forest that the people. So she fell into their campsite, and I'm over here tripping, doing my thing. So I didn't even know all this is happening. And exactly what I thought would happen, like something crazy would happen. I didn't want to like put too much thought into it, because I'm like, nah, I'm just tripping. Like she'll be cool. But no, my instincts were right. Like, she's in a trip, bro. Like, and exactly what she did. So even when she hands her over to me, because my friend, she wears glasses. She didn't have her glasses on or anything. So she's literally walking around like this. And when she hands her over to me, she even hands her over, her eyes is all closed, and she's like feeling me, and she like realizes it's me. But Una was like, is she with you? And I'm like, yes, it's my friend. And she's like, what's her name? And I say her name, and she's like, and then the only reason she let go of her was because when my friend heard my voice, she was like throwing her stuff at me, like, yeah, like, no, like that's who I'm with, so she was like, she's like, and she asked her too while she was holding her, like, is he with you, like, this, you came with somebody? And he's like, what's his name? And she started saying my name. She's like, Chris, and she's like, okay. I'm like, that's my name. And then she ended up letting go of me, and she goes, yeah, you need to take care of your friend, like she fell, she was tripping out. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so sorry, and I was tripping too. So I'm like, all like in my head, I'm thinking like, no. So I ended up, I started walking her a little bit, but she was still barefoot, and she was stepping on twigs. So I ended up just throwing her onto my arms, and I'm walking over there. And while I'm carrying her, like, she's like sinking, making herself more heavier. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, relax. And I didn't want to trip out, but I was so mad. I didn't want to like scare her, because I know she was still tripping. So I ended up bringing her back. I bring her back to the blanket, and I'm like, no, that's not a good look. That's not. And in my head, I'm thinking like, you could have died. The news could have been here. It'd been a bad look for like Shroom. It would have been bad. It's just you really could have got hurt bad. So like broken a bone, broken something, you know. So just to have the minor scratches that she had, the biggest thing she had was like the bottom of her foot got kind of cut real bad. Not like too deep, but it did sting for a bit. She couldn't walk really on it. But other than that, like we're so lucky, nothing that got broken. You know, she didn't get super injured, face didn't get beat up, nothing, you know. So you know, I ended up getting her back to kind of like I ended up grounding her a little bit. And I'm like, nah, you can't do it. I'm like, let's go back over to the RV because the friend that we ended up driving with, the one that got possessed eventually, he stayed back there with them. He ended up staying drinking tea with them, just talking to them. He didn't end up going with us because he didn't take any shrooms. And so we go back. So when we go back down, the lady's like, "Oh, is your friend okay?" And we start talking to her. Una's like, "Is your friend okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, she's okay." I'm like, "Thank you so much. I'm so sorry." And then the kids are all, you know, she had 4 kids and they're all right there and they're talking to us. And especially the one that saw me up there, he goes, "Yeah, you know, she was like really tripping, she's like, I forgot what he said. And I started laughing, and I'm like, and right away I realized like all these kids are smart, you know, they're not
They
little
know
like
what's up.
yeah. And and when the mom introduced us, because I was like, "Oh, I'm Chris," you know, and she was like, "Oh, I'm Una, you know, I'm Una, I identify as a fairy." That's what she told us, and I was on shrooms, so I'm like, "That's fire," you know, I'll roll with that, you know, like cool, let's roll with that, you know. I met a fairy today on my trip. What are the odds? And we talked to her for a little bit, and we just really hit it off with her. Like I really vibed with her, and I kind of felt for her because she was homeless with her 3 kids, you know, I mean 4 kids. The oldest one was 13. The one that saw me was 11. The other one was 8, and the youngest one was 5. So or 4 or 5, all boys. And I was just like, man, and just seeing them, you know, I'm just like I want to help them some way. And I just really gravitated towards the kids because I'm a kid person. So like they really started like, you know, they're really interesting kids because they're really outdoor kids. They're not really on the, you don't have tablets, they don't have much, so they don't have tablets, they're not really into technology. They wanted me to tie them up for fun until they can get away, and I was like, I'm not gonna tie you guys up. I'm like, if your mom lets me, I'll do it, but I'm not gonna tie you guys up. That looks crazy. Like, you relax, you know. And
Right.
she was like, no, I do that because I know I teach them to kind of escape if they ever get tied up or whatever. And I'm like, I mean,
Oh,
that's dope.
wow.
That's cool, you
Yeah.
know. So I was like, all right, and I'll tie them up, but they're really good. So I'll be tying them up, and they'd be like, man, bro, like this, I'm gonna get out easy. That's how I started laughing. Because when they did me, I took a long time to get out. Like, you guys are good at this shit. But anyway, so we met her and we started talking to her, and I really gravitated towards her, the mom, you know, Una. Like, not even like in like, oh, I want her type way. No, it was just like, oh, this lady, I want to help her some way, you know, some type of form. And then eventually we go back to the campsite, to the RV, and then we end up telling the other friend about what happened and everything. So eventually, I think my friend left her glasses, so I went back to get them. But when I went back, I was like, I drink Kangen water. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with Kangen water, but it's like real good spring type of water. And I had a gallon with me, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna give her this gallon. I'm gonna she'll appreciate this like good water. Because I know she's just been drinking. Obviously, in Mount Shasta, actually, they have a spring water at the bottom from the mountain. Actually, that everyone
Oh,
goes
wow.
and they fill up their gallons and everything. Like people really like the whole city really from Chico goes there and just fills up and they take it home. You know, they just real fresh water. Like you could taste it. It tastes amazing.
Oh,
And
wow.
and it's probably the closest water that I've tasted to the machine that I have. You know, that cleans my water. So
Okay.
so I go back and then I take my other friend now this time. I'm like, yo, bro, I'm like, and if we want to go meet this lady, like it's crazy. And he was like, yeah, I'm down, let's go meet her. So then I go back and then I took her some ginger. I had some key lime ginger too. I mean, some juice key lime ginger. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take her this. I know she'll appreciate it. And boom, and right away when she saw it and I gave it to her, she was like, oh my gosh, like, thank you so much. Like, this means so much, Chris. Um, and I ended up most of the time I was just talking to her, and then while my friend, he met them too, and then he ended up playing with the kids, and the kids gravitated towards him too, and I was just talking to her about like her situation, how she got there, you know, how I can help. And um any little thing, you know, I ended up just like, I'm like, here's $100, you know, go buy some groceries and eat some groceries, you know, whatever. There was the kid's birthday that was coming up. I'm like, you know, because he was saying he wanted Chipotle, and he loved Chipotle. I'm like, we want to take him to Chipotle, you know, here's his birthday meal, just whatever you want to do, here's $100. This is all I could do right now, you know. And my other friend ended up really gravitating towards her too. So eventually he tells me, like when we were walking back, well, eventually, like we were gonna end up walking back, but the kids wanted to go with us. They were like, "Oh, where you guys at?" And we're like, "Well, we're literally across the street, like literally, like They were right here, probably walk 5-minute walk, if that, and we're across the street and we're right there. And so they were like, oh, we're across the street. And they're like, oh, you have the RV right there at the cliff. And we're like, yeah. And then so the mom knew where we were at. And she was like, yeah, we're right there. And then they were like, oh, can we go with you guys? And we're like, I mean, I don't know. That's on your mom. We don't mind taking you guys if you want to go over there, but that's on your mom if she wants to let you guys go. So you have to go ask her. And this is why I mean, like, we really hit it off because she let him come with us. Like, she was like, she trusted us, from the get-go. And that to me spoke volumes a lot too. I'm like, damn, she really probably just trusts me, just what I've shown her from a little bit of time. Cause I was really like having conversation with her. I was, talking, we were talking about just everything going on too, the COVID stuff and the vaccines and the political stuff. And she's very big on astrology. She does quantum astrology. So she's all about the planets and the day and where they're aligning. So eventually, we meet the kids or whatever. We meet her. We leave that night. That we spend that whole day there. We spend the night, whatever. We leave the next morning comes, and we end up leaving back. But we didn't want to say bye to them. We really didn't. We were like, man, how can we help you? We really want to help. And eventually, on the way back down here, that my friend, he asked me. He goes, hey, he's like, Chris, do you think, like, how do you feel about it if we ask him to come moving into your house? Because I have a whole house to myself, and I live by myself. And so he was like, and I'll pay he was like, I'll pay their rent for them though. He goes, talk to your dad and see if he'll let have people, rent the house and I'll pay the rent.
Oh wow.
And I was just like, man, I'm down, because I wanted some, more people in the house too. I don't want to be myself anymore. I just wanted to have more love and light and stuff. And I was like, this is my way of helping her too. Like I'm all for that. Like, let's do it. And everything, got set up to where, yeah, my dad agreed to it. They came up with a lease, signed the lease. They were going to be here for 6 months. Boom. And the crazy part is that the only reason that it even sped up was because once we left the next day, my friend had texted him because we ended up exchanging numbers, and he texted her like, oh, it's so nice to meet you. Hopefully we can meet again. And she said, oh yeah, we're leaving the Chasta right now because it caught on fire, because the mountain had caught on fire. And so they left that night, and so like, oh, we don't really have anywhere to go. And she's initially from Illinois, but she ended up taking off from Illinois, and she was in Colorado. So she's from Colorado, and Mount Shasta from right there from Colorado. I mean, from not Colorado, from Oregon is a few hours. So she was there, and she's like, we don't have nowhere to stay really. And he was like, oh, if you want, come down here and I'll get you an Airbnb for the meantime, while we figure something out. This is before we, he came and talked. Well, this is before we had made it official with my dad and talked to him, got the paperwork involved. So she didn't really want to, but eventually something told her like, yes, like she followed her spirit too. And it kind of was like, yeah, come down here. But even when she came down here and she was staying at the Airbnb that he had for her, she was telling me later on, that she even questioned it a lot while she was staying there, that she stayed there for a week, that she was contemplating just taking off and leaving because she still couldn't fathom that, like, someone's taking care of me, like someone's really helping me out. What do they want from me? Why, for what? And they stayed for a week.
Was the guy like into her?
No. Well, I mean, who knows, bro? Now looking back to see the type of person that he kind of really is, that he was hiding from us. Maybe he probably had some intentions. I don't know, but so he brought her in. I mean, but the reason she really did stay is when she found out that I guess he had told her like, oh, I'm gonna talk to we're gonna have a meeting with Chris's dad, and we're gonna see if we can have you move into that house, and you guys can be over there with him instead of finding a place for you to rent. And then so when he told her that, she agreed. She was like, okay, cool, because she's realized that she was gonna move in with me, and she trusted me more than she trusted him. So she like, this is after we spoke about, after that whole incident happened, we talked more about just the relationships and everything. So now knowing, like, she was like, no, I always trusted you. Like, she told me when I found out I was gonna move into your house, I said, yeah, that's when I agreed to it, because I knew it was you. I trusted you more. And so she came in here, probably she was here probably for like a month, the whole month of August. And I swear the whole time from July to September was like a whole year for me. It really changed my life, because that's when the whole thing happened. So basically,
this past August.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason I said all that story is because that's you have to understand that, you know, the people that were involved in this full moon night was my friend that came with us. I'm gonna just say her name, Jasmine. You know, she came, the one that came with us. Una was involved because we met her up there. And the reason, and then so when she, and it happened here in my house, exactly where I'm recording right here, like literally in front of me in this living room is where we know where it happened. And so eventually, you know, and the thing too that I'm realizing now is that my intuition kind of was telling me from the beginning, like, just watch out with this guy, you know, watch out with this guy. Even just getting super kind of invested with him, because when he told me that he was gonna bring in Una and everything, he kind of looked around the house a little bit. And he saw like how many rooms it had, and he was like, "Oh, you have this many rooms? Like, then I just give him two, and then let me keep one." And I'm like, "Well, if you're paying the rent, I don't care what you do. You can set it up however you want to set it up." And he was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, let me keep this one so I can have it for my nonprofit office." And I was just like, "All right, cool." I'm like, well, if you're just gonna have paperwork and stuff, you know, I don't care, you know, whatever. And then one day, um, eventually, he's bringing his stuff in, right? He's bringing, and I'm thinking he's just bringing like office stuff, a desk,
Right.
chair, and everything. And he started bringing in like totes. And I'm like, I saw it was him and his cousin, the one that I initially met in the beginning, you know. So they're cool people. He was cool people too. And I'm like, yo, bro. I was like, well, what's all this, man? Y'all better not be start selling drugs from here. And I was like, y'all don't start selling, like trapping from here. And he goes, no, I asked him, what's all this? And he goes, oh, it's drugs, bro. And that's why I was like, nah, y'all better not start trapping from here. And he started like kind of laughed a little bit. And he said, oh, well, go talk to my cousin. And I said, all right. So I go and I tell him, like, yo, bro, I'm like, what's all this stuff? You know, like you said you're gonna have an office. Like, you ain't tell me you're gonna have all this stuff in here like this. Cause this definitely would have changed my answer. I would have definitely approached, you know, it would have been a different way to approach this. And he's like, oh, I think that's when you realize, oh, I can't play this guy. You know, he's not gonna be as easy as I thought to just do whatever. So I was like, I'm like, because this definitely would have affected my decision making. You know, if he would have included all this. And he goes, well, you know, I was just thinking about just having my stuff, you know, and it really was just, mushrooms and weed, right? So that's why I didn't really trip too bad to where I was like, nah, you can't have it here. So he was like, well, I just want to have it here so I could just, because he used to sell the capsules, the mushroom
Okay.
capsules. So he would grind them up and sell the microdose capsules. He goes, so I just want to make my little capsules here, you know, and just keep my product here. But initially, what he really wanted to do too was have this people deliver the money here, like because he would do the sessions. I don't know if you're familiar with, you know what sessions are. Sessions are
Uh,
like when like swap meets that they sell weed or
okay.
just like not like cocaine and nothing heavy, but just like weed, marijuana, like psychedelics, you know, maybe some shit like that, edibles. So he would have like little people, like little pop-ups like that, and he would have people work for him and get money, and he wanted them to come here. He was gonna be here at night and collect money here, and I was just like, nah, bro, you're not doing that here. You're not collecting money here. If you want to keep your stuff here and bag it up here in pocket, whatever, you could do that, but that's all you're doing here. You're not gonna have people pulling up to my house. You're not gonna be selling from here. You're not gonna be coming at night because I work at night. And if you're here at night too, you're gonna keep the kids up more. And it's like, nah, we're not doing all that. I'm like, you're gonna have you come when I'm here for the most part. And he respected that. So so even after he did set up his little thing there, he wasn't here all the time, you know. But I should have listened to myself because I still wanted to say no, but then eventually I was like, you know what, whatever. And I gave into it too. I was like, whatever, let him do his thing. And so I didn't agree with that. So little stuff like that. And then the more I talked to him, the more I found out about his past and everything. I was like, oh yeah, bro, like you kind of, I don't know, but I felt for his rebirth and his, you know, his new spiritual journey, his awakening, him trying to be a
Okay.
good person to help people out. And maybe he is, you know, maybe I'm not, I don't know. So eventually this night comes to where he comes at night too. I don't even know why he comes at night because he usually doesn't come at night. He came at night to, I guess, make some capsules or whatever. And he's here, and I was napping, and I wake up. And when I wake up, my homegirl's here too. The one, all three of us that went up to the trip. She's here, Jasmine's here, and then he's here. And then I hear him. I wake up and I hear him, and I'm like, oh, why is he like? Why are they here? It's already 8 p.m. They know that, you know, I go to sleep early because I go to work early. I wake up at 3 in the morning to go to work. So I'm like, they shouldn't be here. They shouldn't be here right now. So I woke up and I go out there. They're like, oh, we woke you up. I'm like, yeah, you guys are kind of loud. And then they were like, oh, sorry. And then he's like, I'm almost out of here anyways. I'm almost done. And then he was like, oh, you want to smoke real quick before I leave too? And I'm like, oh yeah, let's smoke, whatever. because I had just woken up anyway. So I have like a studio room, and we were in there chilling. And I guess that night, the person that was supposed to get a reading was my friend, Jasmine. She was gonna get a reading. She had her and Una were gonna do their thing, but last minute, because our other friend has never had the reading. Jasmine had just I asked Una like, "Yo, is it cool if we just if we just do his reading today, and then I'll just do mine another time?" And she was like, "Yeah, whatever. I don't mind. Just let him know because I'm gonna go. It was already late, so I'm gonna go to sleep soon." So we were in there smoking. Like I think we ended up smoking for a little bit longer, but he had his backpack on already. He was already on his way out. He didn't even know he was gonna get the reading because he wasn't supposed to. And then so my friend's like, oh, she goes in there. She goes, oh, so I just told Una to do yours instead of mine, and hopefully you don't mind. And he goes, nah, no, let's do it. But he was kind of hesitant, and every time I would tell him like you should get a reading, he always was like, nah, like I'm kind of scared to find out where I come from or like where my whatever. He's always like said some weird stuff. And then but he finally was like, whatever, I'll do it. So we ended up smoking a little bit longer than expected, and then she kind of Una got kind of upset because it was getting late, and then she had gone into the room and she was like, hey guys, if we're gonna do it, can we do it soon, because I'm getting tired and I have to go to sleep soon. And then she interrupted our smoke session, and he was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go right now. So we ended up coming over here, and then she had everything already set it out. She had everything laid out already. She had her cards. She had her oracle cards just to she always pulls cards before she does the readings. She had her laptop right there to start put the calculations in and pop up the birth chart. And then she has like a big notebook. Like she really studies this stuff. So she had like a big book of where just to like give her like a little reference to what she's gonna tell you. And then that night, well, yeah, so then that happened. So he ends up sitting down. And I think he tells her, can I take my shirt off or whatever? And she was like, yeah, I guess, whatever. Go ahead. So he takes his shirt off, takes his backpack off, takes his shirt off, and he says down. And she pulled 2 cards just to like, she always pulls them before the reading just to get the temperature of the room a little bit. So she pulled the oracle cards, and it was 2 cards. And one of them was a lion that was purging, that was throwing up, and it had like a fairy, had a little fairy next to it, which is odd because she's a fairy, and then and he, now looking back, like he had to purge something out. So and the other one was selfish. The other card was selfishness. So, and then when she pulled them, he's like looking at the cards, and when he's looking at the cards, I guess she sees a cut on his hand, and she goes, oh, I know where that came from. And he looks at it, and he looks up at her, and I think he says something like, yeah, like he goes, yeah. Like I do, and then like it's like I know why it's not healing. I know why it's taking longer to heal, and I don't know what it kind of rubbed him off the wrong way, because I remember like he felt uncomfortable after that, and they started doing stuff like, and the thing is that I had a couch, where I'm sitting on the couch, so my homegirl is sitting, so it's me. I'm sitting on the right, and she's sitting on the left, but my friend is in front of the couch, so I'm looking at the back of his head while she's looking at the front of his head, right? Because we're sitting on the couch, but he's on the floor. So I don't see what's really going on from the front. So, and I was actually talking to her about this the other day, because I was kicking it with her on, was it Sunday? She came over Sunday where we were talking about the whole thing. And she was telling me like new stuff, like, cause I told her what happened. She was like, nah, like his eyes, like even before that, before you took off, like he was already kind of acting weird. I'm like, really? She goes, yeah, like before the actual moment. And I'm like, damn. But it makes sense, because I did see certain from the back of his head, he would, like, I thought he was stretching his neck, but I guess the times he was stretching his neck, he was like really going like making noises, and like I don't know, like some vampire shit
out of him.
Yeah, like something coming out of him type shit. So then after she tells him about the hand, the cut, he's like looking at it, and like he's feeling a way about it. And then she gets up to go get something. I think she want to go get some other tools or something. I forgot what else, some more crystals or something. And she got up, and when she got up, he turns over to us, and he looks at us, and he goes, I just want to tell you guys that I love you so much, and that everything's gonna be okay. And I just thought, oh, he's gonna get a reading, so I thought he was meditating too. I thought he was just getting in a state of mind to like receive the information that he's about to get, So when he said that, I'm just like, oh, and I was like, I love you, bro. Like you'll be good, like it's gonna be a good reading. Like don't even trip. And but when he said that, he turns back around and then that's when it became more. He started getting more exaggerated with it. He was just like, and like I actually saw like his head went more back, so I was able to see because I'm sitting behind him. So I see the eyes and I see him rolling back, and I'm like, oh shit, like movie shit, like shit that you see in a movie, right? And I'm like, and I look at my friend and I tell her, I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, and she's obviously seeing from the front view, so she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, so I get super spooked. And then when Una ends up coming back down while he's doing all that, and she doesn't realize it while she's walking. She ends up walking, and as soon as she sits down, she crosses her leg. She sits down and she looks up, and she's like, and she gets spooked, like she gets scared, and she gets so worried, And so she gets up and she runs to her room, and she comes back with the Palo Santo and the sage, and starts burning it, and like. And start singing like just vibrations through. Now I guess what she was doing is just trying to keep him from not getting to that that beast mode, I guess, or too crazy, too possessed, I guess. So she was trying to just keep him more grounded. And then her main thing was she wanted to get him out the house. She didn't want him to do it. She didn't want to really. She wasn't trying to perform an exorcism. She wasn't trying to like get the demon out of him. She was just trying to get him out the house. Like you get out the house and then whatever you figure it out from there. We don't want you in here. So, so that started happening, and then she started lighting everything, and I ended up I get spooked, Even looking back, I tell certain friends that, and they're like, "Bro, you should have decked him, bro. You should have socked him, like, because I could have just walked up from behind and just like pop, 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 And he literally would have just maybe got more mad. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that would have worked.
And that's what I'm saying. So but I actually did think about that. I was like, nah, because what if that would have triggered him more, and he would have became like Split. You have seen Split?
Yeah,
when the guy gets all beast and I'm like,
that's what happens. Yeah, that's just real. That's what that cut is that you were mentioning. That was a blood sacrifice that isn't healing right. And when she brought attention to it, that's what triggered it in him. So she set it off as soon as she saw that. It wasn't the reading; it was her energy and the.
We never got to the reading. Never got to the reading, bro. The cards that was it. That's it. That's all I happened. The reading never happened. It never happened. And to this day, we still don't know his time of birth. So she can't even pinpoint. I remember she said one time that his soul's from a certain planet, whatever. And that planet was like a very dark type of planet. And I don't know how true that is or whatever, but I forgot what she had said. She said something like that. But the reading never happened. So that was the crazy part. So eventually I get up and I go to my room, and my friend follows me. And then and it's kind of messed up looking bad because we ended up leaving Una out here with him. And then I sit in my bed and I'm like, Jasmine, what the fuck's happening? Like, what the fuck's happening? Oh, this dog's annoying. I'm like, what the fuck? You hear it?
Yeah, it was one of my dogs. Yeah, 6 of them. I'm surprised it's
not even mine. That's the thing, is the neighbors.
No, that's my dog.
Oh, it's yours?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. So eventually I go to the room and I'm like, well, what the fuck's happening? I can't believe this. Oh my gosh. And I'm telling my friend, I'm like, Jasmine, I'm like, how do I bring love into my house and bring people into my house? And then this happens. I started questioning everyone. I started questioning her. I'm like, did you bring the type of energy to my house? No, I've been by myself for a minute and I never felt no dark energy. I never felt scared. So I got really spooked. And then eventually I heard the kids are here still. So they're over there in the room. So eventually I heard a door close, and I'm like, and it's kind of snapped me back to like, nah, Chris, like snap out of it. Stop being scared. Like get back out there. So I heard that when the door closed, I'm like, the kids. And I thought about the kids. And I go to the room I guess they had one room. The kids were sharing one room, but they ran to their mom's room, and they were all in there. All 4 of them were in there. So I go in there and I tell them, you guys are okay? And they're like, yeah, we're good. They're like on their they only had one phone, which was the mom's phone, and then they were on her phone. They're like, yeah, we're good. They were all just watching a video or something, just huddled up. And I'm like, you guys are not scared? They're like, nah, mom always does this. And then when they said that, I'm like, what do you mean mom always does this? And then they're like, yeah, she's always stages the house because she was staging the house. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Y'all don't know what I'm like, no, that's not what's happening, guys. Like, but I didn't tell them that initially. I was just like, oh, yeah, it's cool, you know. So I'm like, if you guys are just in there, she's staging the house, then cool, whatever. She's staging the house, you know. But I thought they were like, no, she always does this type of, you know, work. You know, that's why I was just like, wait, what do you mean mom always does this? So eventually I came out the room, and when I came out the room, I'm like, I told them I'm gonna go check up on your mom, right? Like, all right. So I walk out. And as soon as I walk out, Una hits the corner, and then I guess Jasmine had gone in to you know try to calm him down or whatever. And
so she stayed with him. Jasmine stayed with the guy.
Yeah, she stayed with them. I guess she was like dealing, like, you know, just trying to like. I guess she had a rain stick, so they were just doing like vibrations and stuff, you know, like just trying to keep them mellow and stuff.
Okay.
And then she hits the corner and she sees me. And then I'm like, oh no, what's going on? And she's like, I can see the look in her face. She was scared. She was like, I don't know, Chris. Like, I didn't expect this to happen. I don't do this type of work. And I was, because I questioned her right away. Right away, I told her, I'm like, Una, I need to know right now if I can trust you. I'm like, because I need to know if you brought this person in here. Like, if you attract this type of energy, because if that's the case, you need to go. Like, all you guys need to go. And she's like, no, like Chris, trust me. She starts crying. Like, I don't do this, you know. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do this in the same house that my kids are in. Like, this is not work that I practice. I don't practice shadow work and try to do exercises on people. Like, that's not my field. Like, I just like to heal people. Like, I'm not. She's just more into the whole like body healing type, you know, energy healing. But she don't deal with the dark stuff. Like, she never gets that heavy because she's like, I have kids that I have to take care of. Like, I can't invest my energy into that stuff because you get really drained. So
yeah, for sure.
And that night was a full moon, so it was crazy that it happened because it's kind of like a werewolf type of like.
And that card too. That card, the lion, you know, werewolf, you know, that's a close type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Anubis.
Yes.
Dogman.
Yes, and that's because even after we talked about it, so eventually, okay, so after that, they ended up getting him out the house, I guess. After I talked to her, whatever, I was like, all right, Una, you know what? I'm gonna trust you. I'm gonna put my all into you, and like, whatever, you know, it's us now. Like, he's out the picture, just us. And so she comes back out here, and I guess they get him to the backyard. And I guess when he's in the backyard, he ends up getting naked and he jumps in the pool. Then he comes back out or whatever. And I guess I'm over here with the kids still. So I guess they run out to the car because I guess my friend Jasmine, she had more tools. Like, she had more rain sticks and more stuff like that. So they go out to the car to get more, I think, more sage and more stuff like that too. So then when they come, they were outside, and eventually I think my dog, she howled because my dog's right here. They have a cage right here by the door. So eventually she howls like super loud, like long, like, oh. And then I guess they ran back in. Una and Jasmine ran all the way back in, and I guess he came back inside. And I remember Jasmine telling me, like, Chris, the look on his face, like a ha, like I'm back inside, like taunting them, you know, very demonic like face. And I'm like, really? She goes, it was the craziest shit, Chris, because I didn't see him no more after that whole in the living room. I kind of dipped, and I didn't know what happened after he ended up leaving. But they actually, you know, were able to see him, and she was trying to talk to him, like, they were like, you don't do this here, you don't do this here, you don't do this type of stuff here. This is not welcome here in this house. You can't just you know, bring this, you know, person out, whatever. And oh, but you know, before he got possessed, before the I love you guys, everything's gonna be okay, he had asked to is it okay if I let it out? And Una was like, yeah, let it out. But she meant, and I thought he meant just,
The
you know, like
words.
tears. No, yeah, tears. I think, yeah, to cry. Like, like, is it okay to cry? So she was like, yeah, like, go ahead, like, cry. And then when she looked down, and I remember because she had already sat down. She sat down, and she would look at the card. And then after a while, she looked up. She's on her computer, and then she looks up, and that's when she realizes, like, he's like, and she gets up quick, and she goes and gets her stuff and everything. And so that makes sense that he said that, though. He asked permission, and we said, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense for sure. Yeah.
So they ended up getting him out, and then after they came back in, they ended up getting him back out again. And when they got him back out, I think he snapped out of it. I forgot, he snapped out of it, and then he realized, like, oh shit, what's going on? Like, he didn't have a shirt on or anything like that. So then he ended up I just hopping over my gate, and he took off. You know, he had his car, got in his car, and he took off. Get a text from him probably like a few hours later. Like, actually, no, in the morning, because I remember telling you I go to work early in the morning. So that whole
Right.
night I stay up. It was like 8 p.m. It happened like around 10 p.m. That whole night we're just talking about what's happening. And Una said, she goes, it felt dark. Like he had something heavy on him. Like it's not the first time that that's happened to him.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
he's experienced that before. And then obviously as the days go by, you know, more stuff starts unraveling. We start finding out that it's the second time it's happened to him. We find out the other person that's experienced the same thing we experienced, and she started reaching out to us for help. And then Jasmine wanted to help her and was like, I'm gonna go help her. And I told Jasmine, like, look, you can go help her, but if you help her, I don't want to talk to you no more. Like, I want to lose all
That's like a
connection.
Scooby-Doo mystery. I don't want to know, to help someone
I'm
else
like,
that's happened to already. Like that sounds crazy as
yeah,
shit.
but I forgot how she found out, because everyone in the group, everyone at these weekly meetings, they obviously, we were two of the main people. We stopped showing up out of nowhere, you know. So everyone's
Oh
wondering like
wow.
what happened with, you know, with Chris and Jasmine. So everyone
Yeah.
was kind of questioning stuff, and I blocked everyone that I knew that's connected with him. I blocked his number. I blocked everyone, and I even told Jasmine, I'm like, look, because she was feeling like, man, he needs help. He needs help. I'm like, I get that, but not our help. Not our help.
Yeah.
He don't need
Yeah.
our help. Like he has to go deal with more stuff too. Like, I'm cool with that. And I'm like, and then the girl that reached out to us, she was part of the groups too. You know, I guess it wasn't his girlfriend, but I thought it was his girl. And so she had slept with him and everything. And she was like, I slept with him. And she was telling my friend that. And she was like, I saw what you guys do. He did it. She took it to a hot spring or something, and he did it over there. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so she's telling us all this stuff. And my friend telling me like, I'm a helper. And I'm like, no, you're not. And then she's like, I'm a helper. And I'm like, okay, well, if you do, actually, I didn't tell her, no, you're not. I'm like, look, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm like, we're friends and everything, but if you help this person, I'm like, you're getting more invested into all this stuff, and then you're getting more closer to him, and like, if you do all that, God bless you, God bless whatever. But we're not. This is where our friendship ends. Like, all love to you, no hate, but I can't be in contact with you. So I gave her that ultimatum, and she actually ended up choosing my friendship over that relationship. So, you know, so we're still friends to this day, but we haven't talked to him. We don't know what's going on with him or nothing. It never been any problems, you know, luckily, but it traumatized me. That event was really traumatizing, bro. It was really, really traumatizing to where I couldn't be in the dark, can't watch scary movies. Um, I'm not a fan of I never really been a fan of Halloween, but I just don't even like that vibe anymore.
Yeah. I
That
feel
fake
that.
possession vibe. I don't like that no more, bro.
Yeah. So are you still
That
still
was long.
trauma?
I'm sorry. That
No,
was long. I'm sorry.
I mean, no, it was
But I
worth
had
it.
this is the first time I actually told her like in that detail. I took it all from the beginning of where how the pieces falling together, right? So I'm even gonna say this real quick because I felt like I had to meet Una for her to save me that more. Una came into my life to make me realize that person really is a dark person, and I really should have gone with my intuition. So it really was I feel like it was my what do you call them? My guardian angels really just bringing someone my way, because look, this is the crazy part too. She was waiting on money from her son had died, right? And a few years back, her oldest son, she had two older kids that are already like over 20. And then her son had died in a motorcycle accident, and she was waiting on his life insurance money. She was waiting, I think, on, I don't even remember this. Like, it was over 50K for sure. She was waiting on. And she was already going back and forth with the lawyers probably for already a year, you know, that she's been waiting on this money and it just needs to be finalized. And then whatever, you know, COVID slowed things down too. So, but she never was like pressed about it. She never was like always at the bank trying to figure out what's going on. Like, she kept up with it, but she never was pressured by it to where she was obsessive over the money, you know? So she was always looked at life very, I love, you know, to this day, I love that woman because she was a big part of my journey too. And, and she had a lot of insight and a very smart individual too, amazing mom. So, um, so literally when that happened, 2 days later or the next day, she gets a call from the lawyer saying that, you know, the money went through now. Like, now it's getting finalized. You're gonna have it in your account, like for sure in the next 3 to 5 days.
Oh
And
wow. That's like a
bro.
timeline jump. It's like you guys had to experience that darkness in order to get through it. Whatever that darkness was for you guys, your shared experience. I look at everything physical is a
Yeah,
symbolic representation of what's happened to us spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. And we just don't know
yeah,
what's what. But something like that was obviously, what with her getting the money released right after, it was meant for you two to
job
or
done.
three to be, to do what you were did.
Job done, bro. Like it was like job completed. And the reason I feel like that too is because and that's why I say, like, that's why I look at it. Obviously everything's about perspective, and I look at this whole thing that happened as it needed to happen to me, for the better, especially the way everything's going with the spiritual war. It really prepped me just to be more spiritual too. But during that time too, um just being with just like trying to build community, right? And putting my trust into someone. And again, my intuition was telling me, right when he was trying to bring in the mushrooms and everything, my intuition was telling me, again, red flag, red flag, red flag, right there, right there, it's right there, it's right there. And I still was like, it's just weed, it's just weed and shrooms, whatever. Let's bring them in here. And I never go against my intuition. This is the first time, and it's because I was on the spiritual path of trust people and love and move with light and everything. And look, and they really kind of, you have to watch out when you move like that, because moving in love all the time, people take advantage of that shit sometimes. And luckily me, I'm very also I can get aggressive. I don't let people, like, I see some, I don't get played easy. I don't let shit fly. I'm
Right.
like, nah, I cut stuff real quick. And I voice my what I feel. I always voice how I feel. I never hide it. And sometimes, I say stuff wrong, whatever. But I felt like it was I felt like all that was needed because she brought that out of him, and I really had to see that this person was not who I thought he was.
Right.
Because I was ignoring my intuition. I was getting more invested. And imagine if she wasn't in the picture. What if it would have got worse in here? What if people would have started coming here looking for him, or
Right.
who knows? In that game too. And then knowing that he does have a back, I started finding out that he has a warrant out, that he is on the he's just involved in a lot of shit. I ended up finding out later towards, like, man, I could have been in some shit with this guy, like, for
Yeah.
real, like,
Yeah.
for real. So, and I was ignoring my gut, and she came and she was like, I felt like and even her being here, I wouldn't know. I didn't have the stage, the Palo Santo, all this. Wouldn't even know how to combat a spiritual thing like that, a demonic possession like that. So for her to even be here and to, like, handle it, like, she did her job, and she was blessed a day after. And that's why, to me, it was like confirmation. Looking back, I'm like, man, like, we both came into each other's life for a reason. Like, she came
Yeah.
down here and I gave her a place to live for a whole month. She didn't have a house. They finally had to have showers every day. They had a beds every day. They had a place. They had a place. So it
Yeah.
all worked out, man. It was crazy, man. That whole
And Jasmine gave up her reading in order for his on the night of the full moon. So, that's no coincidence either. It was meant for that to come out.
yeah,
It was meant for Una to already be annoyed because you guys took long. So she was annoyed and made maybe a remark about his hand that she wouldn't have made if she wasn't annoyed.
yeah,
So,
that's
all
true.
those little details are very
Yeah,
important to the whole.
yeah, everything.
That's quite the
And then
story.
and then he has the guts so I ended up staying up all night. We ended up talking about it. Then I have to clock in at work at 3:30 a.m. So I end up leaving my house at around 2, basically 3 a.m. And then I get to work. I'm all fucked up, just fresh off the event. Everything's kind of calming down. I'm at work, and obviously my parents live on the East Coast, so it was already like 7 o'clock. My mom's already up for work, where she's at. So I taught mom everything. And my mom's like really my best friend. Like, right away, I have to, like, go tell her what's going on, just my private life and what's going on regular. So I hit her up. I call my mom, like, Mom, you're never gonna believe what just happened. I'm like, but first of all, I'm just gonna say that we're not taking money from this guy no more. We're not taking his rent anymore. I'm like, I'm sorry if you guys need rent for Una and the family, but we're not gonna give this guy no money. I cut him off. And what I love about my parents is that she didn't even ask, like, why, what happened. I mean, that's not even the first thing she said. The first thing she said was like, okay, like, whatever, like,
Oh, wow.
yeah. She was just like, all right. She didn't ask what happened. And then eventually, I was just like, Mom, because you're never gonna just guess what happened. And then I just ended up telling her, and she was just like, I'm sorry you had to go through that. And I was just I was like, I was so fucked up, bro. I was so fresh. I stock at work, so there's no members there. I just have my phone while I'm talking to her, and I have my headphones in while I'm talking to her. I'm just like, yes. And I'm breaking everything down to her. And I just told her, like, yeah, I don't want, because then like a few hours later, he ends up texting me. He texts me, he tells me, this is before I had blocked him, and he texts me, and he goes, because he still had a bunch of his stuff here in the room, right? So I felt like we still had to kind of see each other. I did not want to see him anymore. I did not want to cross paths anymore. But he had all his merchandise here. He had all his product here. So a few hundred, I mean not $100, a few like over 10K worth of money in here in that room for sure. So I'm like, we have to give it. I wasn't gonna keep it either. I was like, we have to give it to him, but I don't want to give it to him. I don't want to meet up with him. I don't want him to come here and get it. Like, I don't even want to talk to him like at all. We have to figure out some way to give him his stuff. And so he texts me like when I'm at work, and he tells me basically apologizing. And he goes, I didn't know. And he's like, I didn't know that I couldn't do that inside people's houses. And I was like, what do you like? He said he was apologizing like, I'm sorry that it happened in your house. It wasn't so much, I'm sorry I put you through that. I'm sorry if you had to see that. It was just like, I'm sorry that I didn't know that I wasn't allowed to not do that anywhere.
Wow.
And then so he said all this stuff, and I was like, look, bro, I was like, don't worry about money anymore. Like, I don't need anything from you. Like, don't talk to me. Like, as of right now, like we no longer have a connection. And he was like, you sure? You sure? And I'm like, yeah, bro, don't worry about no money. Like, I got it. Don't trip. And I ended up I blocked him, and never heard from him again. But because he still wanted to pay the rent, even though he goes, I don't mind just meeting up with having someone go give you the money, meeting up, and you don't have to give it directly from me. Because the way I looked at it too was like, it's not even about the money. It's just that I don't want that energy transfer. I don't want your transfer of energy with the money at all. I'm cutting all that off. Anything that you touch, is dead to me. Any connection that you have, any person that I know of because of you, they're dead to me. Like, and I'm sorry, that may sound selfish, but I can't. I have to cut you all out because that was my way of processing with it. Because again, I was traumatized for a few weeks. For a few weeks, I was traumatized, bro.
So would you end up doing to get over that, to be able to live your life again? Whereas some of the grounding techniques that you had.
Well, I don't know. Jasmine's probably not going to listen to this, but if she does, I really want to say I'm sorry to her, because she was very traumatized too by it. But the thing is that we're all traumatized by it, but me and her were traumatized by it. But she was trying to heal with me. It's like she wanted to hold my hand while we went through the healing. And I just and I want to say sorry, because I got to a point where I was rude with her, because I felt people wanted to like hug me, and I didn't want to be hugged. I felt like I was in a corner. I'm like, I don't know who to trust right now. I don't, like, is it you too? Like, I'm like, you're the reason why I even met this guy. Like, you're, it was you. And I was kind of blaming her. Like, I was like, for connecting me with this person. So, I was just very turned off by everyone, and I didn't want to deal with it, because she was like, I'm gonna go get a Reiki healing, and they were trying to figure out ways to like to get a cleansing, and I just didn't want to give it no energy. I didn't want to pay attention to it. I didn't want to meet up with anyone. I didn't want to talk about it. I was really trying to just avoid it. I was trying to not think about it at all. And the more I try not to think about it, the more it was eating me alive. So eventually I talked, because the first time I mentioned it on the podcast, because this happened, the reason that it's tripped me out too, bro, is that it happened in the 33rd week of the year. And I'm big on like, the numerology and 33 and all that stuff. So I had an episode called My Week 33. And basically I talk about like just, putting your trust all into people and just watching now when you move with love. But I didn't say what happened. I kind of just touched her. Like I basically like, and it's crazy because people did hit me up after the episode. And were like, hey, you good, bro? I heard the episode. I hope everything's good. And I'm like, oh, I appreciate it. I'm good. But so I didn't say what happened, but I did kind of say something happened in my life recently. And eventually when I did finally speak on it, I felt good when I said on the pod. And then the more I saw myself talking about it, I started telling him, not everybody, but I would speak more about it on my podcast on different episodes. So the more I started doing that, the more I started coping with it, the more I started processing it, the more I started just like, I started living with it. I'm like, yes, this happened to me. It was ugly, but it ain't the end of the world, bro. Like, just be more prepared. And if anything, now I'm even more prepared too when it comes to spiritual people. Like, just be wary of who you get your readings from. Be wary of who you get your shamanism from, who your shaman is, because this guy was trying to be a shaman when he needs help himself. How is a demon giving ceremonies to other light beings, bro? Like, it doesn't make sense. So all that was like,
Nah, And I'll tell you what, that person would have never given you the advice of what actually healed you, truth to power. You had to speak through it. You had to learn your way. And that's kind of the issue with shamans, and people want to look at them as they're going to perform some magic. I'm on a
Yeah.
Facebook group, and someone said, "Oh, I performed this ritual of releasing all these bad relationship
Yeah.
things, and then I almost lost my relationship. What happened?" I'm like, "Well, it's not magic. You have to go through it. It's trauma."
Yeah.
And you might be able to do certain things that we call rituals, that
Yeah.
bring forth the trauma in your life, but you have to actually face it. And it's like you said, the truth to power, speaking your
Yeah.
truth and not being afraid of it, not keeping it in the dark, to the side, like I don't want to
Yeah.
look at it. That's
Yeah.
what ends up healing us.
Yeah. And now I'm glad I'm back to the point where I can be in the dark again. And I'm cool. The only thing that I'm still iffy about is like scary movies. I have to watch them during the daytime. I can't watch them during the night. But I kind of like that because I like that not even like negative shit like that. Cause I used to love horror movies, but I love that my vibration doesn't even resonate with that anymore. Like I'm cool off that. Like it's not about really light or anything like that. I don't my vibe doesn't even get attracted to it no more. It's not even like I'm running from it.
Yeah.
I just look at it and be like, oh, that's not what I want to engage in. I'm cool. And I'll go do something else,
Yeah. I was never into horror movies or any of that type stuff.
And that's crazy because my mom was never like that. My mom hates horror movies, right? And because of my mom, honestly, my mom has always been that mom that she never liked us wearing skulls. She never liked us wearing anything like Hot Topic-ish, possessive things. And I used to always be like,
Right.
Mom, why not? It's just a skull. And she'd be like, nah. But looking back, that's good that she never vibrated towards that. She never liked like all the blinds always closed. She was like, no, open the blinds. The sun gotta get in here. And always keep your room white because white just makes it it just pops more and it's more light. And I love all that now. I used to love my room dark and no light and now I don't resonate towards that at all, man. It's so wild. It's wild, man.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
But
I'll tell you what, I went. Oh, go ahead.
I got into what also really helped me too, I guess maybe placebo effect shit, because I got super into crystals, right? Started picking up crystals for protection. I started getting candles, for protection. I started burning sage to myself. I started getting into Palo Santo. I don't do it like super crazy all the time. I don't wake up and just always light up, but look right here, I have like, something like this sitting just, around my little organite pyramid.
Yeah.
So I do have like little shit around me now. I started wearing a lot of crystals too. So I like that because I felt after that incident happened, bro, I felt like, okay, it's either let this eat you alive or man the fuck up and get spiritually equipped and start building your spiritual powers, start building your spiritual ability. As far as this is nothing right now. Like this world is a spiritual war and it's going to get even crazier. So at the same time, I felt like it's testing me too. Cause now I started getting, cause I used to be that person that always said black magic, white magic. I don't want to get involved. Like leave me out of it. I don't care.
Right.
I'm cool off magic. But my friends, I always said like, it don't matter if you want to stay out of it, bro. Like that stuff exists. And magic is just magnetism is just, just frequency and energy. So just light, so it's just the manipulation of energy, basically what magic is. So once you start coming across all that information, it's like, oh, okay, like there's dark and there's light. Like it's always gonna be like that. Duality is always gonna exist, so it's either, and then you get to a point too where it's like, I can get evil like that too. Like everyone has the power to be evil. So I think it just goes back to how you want to vibrate. And then now at the point too where it's like I'm not even mad at him anymore. I'm not mad at those type of people. It's just like, you guys are dark people. Go vibrate with dark people. I'm cool off you guys because we're all one, bro. We're all one, and even the dark ones are part of the one. I'm sorry, So it was a big learning experience.
Yeah, someone like that, I see, like someone that is doing good, doing all that stuff that you guys were talking about in the beginning, like that's some real like wholesome good things that you were doing the cleanups and all that stuff, and he's paying for this woman to stay there. So I see that he's trying to do good, but what he's just being misled by something that's taking his power.
Do you think
like a lot of people do that?
And I can't even have this conversation too. Do you think he would do stuff like that to balance out that darkness in him? to make him feel like I'm doing some type of good.
Well, say to me, I think that he's probably giving all of his power over to that energy, and that energy is telling him truths, and it's leading him to crazy things that he couldn't explain otherwise, and he's trusting it, and he trusted what happened, and he asked you guys like he thought that it was more obvious because he was probably in the spirit world. He's probably seeing it all around him, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Is it okay?" Because I
Yeah.
myself, I had things in my chakras that I've cleared out that I literally purged. I threw up twice, two big
Mm.
hurls, but nothing came out. But when I was done, I felt so much lighter, and I was like, I had this smile on my face. I was in a state of nirvana for 10 days after releasing whatever it was that was in
Wow.
me.
Well,
Yeah, I tell a story on Third Eye Awakening with Amy Belair. It's about to come out in a few weeks here. You hear that? It was so, and it happened right after I deleted my Twitter because it was like that was the last chain that was holding me, deceiving me. Because, like that guy, like I was just saying, for me, I was getting all this information that was true, that
mm-hmm.
spiritually, I'm meditating and I'm getting shown all the stuff
Yeah.
that's true. But then I was also being deceived at the same time. So it's
Yeah.
like he was probably just trusting this thing that's in him, that's been a part of him for so long that he doesn't realize it's something else. Or maybe he could just be knowing that he's dark and he's trying to counterbalance it with light.
Well, he did tell me, he did tell me one time that back in his, but he was fairly young. He was 24, 25, but he was saying back when he was younger, in his younger days, that he he overdosed one time at a party, and he said 'cause he used to do a lot of cocaine. He used to sell cocaine. He used to do a lot of cocaine, and that he overdosed, and that he woke up, and he said that he said that he goes, yeah, bro, I overdosed, and then out of nowhere, like I just opened my eyes and I wake up, but I felt like possessed. Like I felt like I haven't felt the same since then. Like, and I remember he told me that, and I didn't really even think too much of it. I was just like, damn, that's crazy, bro. Like at least you're alive, But looking back, I'm like, damn, he really told
Wow.
me like that's probably when it happened.
Oh, well, that makes me think that he probably died and something brought him back and said, okay, you can come back to be a human again, but I'm coming with you.
And he
That's
said that,
exactly
and he
what
said that
that sounds like to me.
he just got up and he just was like got back to the party like whatever. They didn't feel hungover. Nothing was like whatever. I was like, what the fuck? And then what I
Yeah.
also didn't tell you is that
Probably died and was soul to soul.
what I also didn't tell you is that when we were in Shasta, the people that we met, right, from the RV. Remember initially when I told you in the beginning we met those a guy and his stepson. His stepson was already older, like 40, and then later on we ended up meeting the mother, right? But the mom gave me, but even the only one that gave me like okay vibes was the son, right? Jonathan. I've had him on my pod, but the mom and the dad kind of gave me like just kind of weird vibes. They gave me weird vibes, right? And we spent the whole day with them basically. After me and my Jasmine started coming down from our mushrooms, and we ended up going down to the river and getting some water, and we're there. They take us down there. We're talking to them. Then they go to the grocery store. They get groceries, and then they were gonna cook for us that night. So, but so we spent that whole day with them. But there's a part of the day where Steve, I was about to say his name, my homie and Jasmine, they were gonna get love baths from the woman in the RV. And
Okay.
but I was cool off that. I didn't even know what that was going on because I was still very kind of new to a lot of this stuff. Um and I wasn't like I want to do mine. I didn't really care. I was just like kind of looking at them or whatever. But um he ended up doing his, and he started just crying. He was just crying, crying, crying. But looking back, I'm like, these people are, I don't know, there's something weird about them. And they just look kind of weird. And then when Una had met him too, and then later I asked, because I feel like I Una really smart. I kind of like she could read energy very well. So I'll tell Una, I'm like, hey, when you meet these people, like just let me know what you feel about them, because my feeling tells me like something's up with them. Like I feel like they're hiding something, or They just seem kind of fishy. And when she met him, she's like, "Yeah, I don't know. They kind of give me like the creeps." And I'm like, "Yeah, they do, huh?" And we couldn't really put our finger on what it was exactly, but maybe that, her, maybe she did magic on him too. I don't know.
So do you think what well were they alone with him? You said drinking the
Yeah,
tea, right?
he spent more time with them.
So you think he might have like hypnotized them or something, put a trance on them or something?
I
Some
don't
kind
know.
of spell? Like
Yeah, like I
like
don't know.
you
I don't know.
see
I
you
don't.
thought that they
Well,
were off, like
well,
that maybe
the love bad stuff was
that they
kind
did
of
something to him or he did something to them.
that they did something to him because he opened up a lot with them.
Okay.
He opened up a lot with them, and I guess that's why he started crying because I don't know. He really opened. He ended up having a good connection with that woman too. So I don't know, but she gave me the creeps. I didn't really kind of trust her. Even when she gave us food, I was something in me was like, man, what if she did something to the food? I don't know, but nah, it was all just it was like regular. It was regular food. It wasn't nothing crazy. It was like corn and some rice, like nothing crazy. And but yeah, like that because I asked Jeff, I'm like, hey, what's a love bath though? Because I heard him mention Molly or MDMA, and I'm like, what the fuck, Molly? Like, y'all use Molly for spiritual practices? Like, what the fuck? Like, I never heard of someone using Molly because I guess like they use a little bit because it balances, it makes you open up a certain chakra or whatever the feelings. I don't know what they were saying, how they were justifying it, but I thought that was funny when she said that, and so I'm like, so you're on Molly right now? So you guys are gonna do Molly? They're like, yeah, we have to do a little bit of Molly and everything, and then yeah, it was like some spiritual shit. They were wearing all white and everything. So it was, yeah. So I don't know. Looking back, I'm like, what if she did something to them? What if she did something to him,
Oh well.
I don't know.
Could be. Yeah, Molly is it is a that's being well, not Molly itself, but MDMA is being studied for people, healing them with PTSD, and people. So I mean, there is something to the love feeling that
Okay.
MDMA and mushrooms bring to
Just
you.
seem odd.
So maybe he was combating it with all those mushrooms, thinking that
He didn't do
all that
mushrooms.
love from the mushrooms and could
He
defeat
didn't do
it. Oh, he
mushrooms.
didn't do them. He just
Nah,
told.
he didn't do mushrooms. He just probably, I think he just microdosed. He was more of a microdoser. He was always just taking a little capsules every few hours, but he never was like, he didn't take grams of mushrooms. Now that I think about it, I don't think he ever took mushrooms when we took mushrooms. Because one time he had us at his house, he
Oh,
hosted us at his house, and it was me, Jasmine went, and my other friend went, Dennis, and we all went. I was all four of us, and that was Dennis's first time having his breakthrough too on mushrooms, and he was supposed to guide us that night, with this mushroom ceremony, but he had a girl over. He was all entertained with her, and we ended up just tripping by ourselves. But we're in his backyard, which was nice because he had a lot of green and the palm trees and everything, so it looked like nature. And but yeah, he didn't even do any shrooms that night either. We were all supposed to do shrooms that night. He didn't do any. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he ever did shrooms the times we were supposed to do shrooms. Now I look back, played us.
oh man. Yeah, it's definitely seems like something was up. He knew about it though for sure. But that's a quite the story. I've never seen anybody acting. Okay, well that's not true. I don't want to. I haven't told the story on the podcast yet, but I'll get to a story that was I thought I kind of casted a demon out of my daughter.
Oh, your daughter?
So it was. I'll tell it just a little bit. I was in her bedroom, and your room represents your head. As above, so below. So your room is like the holy of holies. So the type of music I listen to now is centralized around Jesus because I used to be big into hip hop, Eminem and Lil Wayne and Biggie and Tupac, but because of all the darkness that was associated with all that, I was like, I don't want that in my life anymore. So I eventually landed at Jesus music, and it was a whole adventure getting there. So anyway, I find these amazing rappers, but they just like Jesus, and but they're really talented people, and I
Hold on,
listen to it all the time just to
hold on, hold
spread,
on,
raise vibrations.
hold on. It's funny you say that because earlier when I was saying that I remember I was saying I don't vibrate to anything that's negative, but I thought music's still the only thing that I listen to that's like has that negative low frequency to it.
Yeah, that's why I gave it up, because it was right. Eminem's and Lil Wayne, they had their albums back to back. It was it was Funeral and
Rebirth.
well, no, they came out like 2 weeks apart. Funeral was Lil Wayne's, but uh, Music to Be Murdered By was Eminem's. So I was like, oh, I'm about to be murdered, because I was going through my awakening right when that
Yeah.
happened, and I was like, oh, but it was just my musical interests were being murdered because I let go of that.
Yeah.
So anyway, now I listen to music about Jesus, and I'm in my daughter's room and I'm cleaning it, right? And I have all of her stuff pulled out, and she started losing her mind. She's like, you can't play that music in here. She's like, go play that music somewhere else, and started berating me for hours. And I was just sitting there, and I got to the point that when I meditate, I can clear things away from me or others, just in the general area I'm in. And it was funny earlier, you were saying how you have little, you know, trinkets around your house now, spiritual things. It's like setting your tune, so when something comes into your vibrational field, your energy field, it's off. So that's why those trinkets are good for that. So when I'm sitting there meditating and I'm used to clearing stuff off, and I already went through what I thought was, I released demons out of me, and now I'm listening to music and helping her clean her room, and she starts berating me. So I just meditate near her. I'm telling her to clean her room, and I'm sitting in her room, and I just start meditating, and I have on the music that's talking about Jesus, and she lost her mind. And I wasn't stewing or saying anything to her, but it was like something took over her, and it was it was crazy. I had to. That was the second time of two times. Like the first time it happened, it wasn't as bad, but that second time it was craziness, like just berating me, saying the most hateful things that she possibly could, and all because it's all started because I have music on that was talking about Jesus. And it's like, damn, what would a demon, a classical demon would not want to hear people talking about Jesus in its space. And I was in the deepest, darkest recesses of her mind by cleaning out, all the little intricate spaces in her room while that music's playing. So, as above, so below, that music's getting into her brain, clearing out that demon that was in there. And it was just saying the most hateful things to me in order to get me to be angry at it, start yelling back at her so that it could stay in her. But because I was vibrating so high, I could feel like I just have to let her let it out, and I'll just put it away. So, I never seen someone turn like the way you did, but I have seen, just the reaction of what I would call a demon would react in that way. And it's you said earlier you wouldn't know how to clear something out. If you ever invoke the name of Jesus Christ, it will scare away any negative energies. Now, not everything will leave right away, because it might, if evil is 0% and good, Jesus is 100%, it might resonate somewhere at like 40% rather than something that was like in your friend that was probably resonating at like 10%. So if you say Jesus Christ, it might not move it away right away, but it'll back off, and it puts you in a good place that, you can defend yourself at least. Like that shit was crazy. I seen it happen.
Yeah. Damn. Your daughter, man. How old is your daughter?
She's 11. She's almost 12. We meditate together.
She
Well,
would
we
be
have,
11.
for
Hey,
a while.
when's your birthday? Are you born on the 11th?
No, I was born on 7th, December 7th,
Of course you are. 7th. What year?
1989.
Damn.
So
Let me see, bro.
one life path.
You're a one,
Yeah,
but you
born on
definitely have
a 7th.
you definitely have that. You definitely have that 7 energy, that spiritual energy too.
Yeah, well, not only that, but I'm not too into astrology, but I have looked into it. And Ross Ben, I don't know if you know who Ross Ben is. He's a guy from Philly, he does astrology, and
Oh
he said
yeah.
that Heaven's Gate is open midway in Sagittarius, and my birthday is literally, you know, dead center Sagittarius,
Concern.
and that's when Heaven's Gate is open.
Yeah.
So, I always looked at that. I was like, well, one life path, which is, the number of God, then 7 is the lucky number, is my day, and then it happens to be Sagittarius when Heaven's Gates open, right in the middle.
Let me see. You said 1 plus 2 plus. You said December what?
7th.
7. 89.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're definitely a one life path. One life path. That's crazy. Yeah. That's why I believe this astrology stuff and numerology stuff sometimes. I don't get too caught up in it. Why? I'm not gonna lie, I do get invested into it. Actually, I love numerology. I love numbers and stuff, but it's weird when it starts syncing up all the time. And people be like, "Oh, you're just looking for it." And it's like, no, because I realize, my life path number, and it's like, I look back at my life and I'm just like, that makes sense. And then I start seeing, like, I just come across different information. I'm like, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, this is how my life been. That makes sense. I'm a Scorpio. That makes sense. And I'm a rooster.
Right.
I'm born the year of the rooster. That makes sense. So it's always
Yeah,
crazy
I
to me.
think. Yeah, I think we're all living out. See, my girlfriend's daughter said this to me, that we're all living out. We all have predetermined paths. We're all an archetype, right? And we're
Okay.
all living it out, so that it makes sense when you reflect. But when you're going through it, you're not really sure which one you're
Oh.
going through. And because you're usually, not for everybody, but some people are all of them, or at least different parts of their life, they're different archetypes. Sometimes you'll resonate with Jesus. Well, maybe another time you might resonate with Virgin Mary, or whoever the archetype is.
Yeah.
But there's a set number that, and you're going to go through all of them, but after you reflect back on your whole life, you'll be like, oh, I was this archetype. That's the life path that I was on.
Do you believe that it was written, or do you believe that you write it?
So the way that I see the time works is that we all live out emotions first. Like, so your first happy event, to your next happy event, to your next happy event, then your first sad event to your next sad event, and you live it out emotionally. And now where we are is the space in between, that we're making everything connect. We're going from the happy moment to the sad moment to the scary moment, rather than, and we have the time in between where it's a no moment, really, like a mundane type stuff.
Yeah.
We have all that mundane type stuff is this going from the emotion to emotion. So I believe that time works is, it's first emotion, we experience everything emotionally, and now where we are is we go down these highways that are already carved out. We're going down the path, and I don't necessarily think, I think that we can be creating new roads as we go along, that we can jump from this emotion to that emotion that wasn't ever carved out that way before. So I do think that can happen, but I think that everything pretty much has happened for like 99.9% of the way, and we're just now, based upon our free will and our choice, we're experiencing life the way that we, you reap what you sow. So I believe that's how it all works out. So it's, I guess, a combination of both, to answer your question.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Have you seen Westworld?
No, I've heard of it, but no, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, kind of. It got me
And I
thinking.
say I got off of TV and movies.
I just got back into him.
Yeah. Yeah. So I gave them up. I started podcasting, but I do a lot of stuff outside, so I don't have
Right.
too much downtime. But the downtime I did have now, I'm podcasting with. So
No, that yeah. I'm not. I've never been much of a TV person. I'm not a video game person. I've never been that but I'm finally able to just enjoy stuff again. Like when someone tells me, "Oh, this is coming
yeah,
out. This series coming out." Oh, I was a fan before. I'm watching again because I did get to a point where yeah, I stopped. I couldn't listen to music the same. I can't watch movies the same because I would always get mad at all the pedophilia stuff, the just the agendas, the narratives that they push, right? Always, young actors, playing teenage, just always sexual shit for young kids on every Hollywood movie. Netflix is all demonic and pedophilia, basically. So I get that, and
yeah,
I still don't. I don't even like Netflix anymore, but so I still get that, and I still see it, but I guess it's how you react to it, huh? Because I don't let it get to me no
right.
more. It's like I get this is how it is, and I mean I could choose not to pay no mind, but like I said, I need that balance still in my life, bro. That normie balance.
Yeah, yeah. I actually just went to see Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat. It
Fire,
was
huh?
a double feature. Yeah, it went as a drive-in too. On
Oh,
Friday we
dope.
went.
Dope.
And
What'd you
my
think?
girlfriend, she couldn't bear all the violence in Mortal Kombat. It was good. I think there's a lot of truths that were
Yeah,
revealed in Godzilla vs.
yeah.
Kong. I I think that was
Godzilla was
pretty
dope.
cool, and I think there was a lot of truth in Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat was about them fighting this basically the spirit realms fighting over domain of the earth realm,
Yep.
and humanity won, and it took the darkness had to push humanity all the way to the edge in order for humanity to gain its
Yeah.
strength to rule
Yeah.
itself again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't like I never really got into movies all too much. I mean, I was, but I was never. I was more into sports. Was my thing before.
Okay.
What I was always watching sports.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So getting rid of that. That was that low vibrational, like you were just saying. That was
Yeah.
that low vibrational thing for me that I had to remove.
Yeah.
Yeah, the all because it's all set up. It's all fake.
Yeah.
And
But
I
is
got
it
the Eagles Super Bowl tattoo on me, and it's and now I'm like, oh, it's fake.
but okay, if you know it's fake, so why can't you just enjoy it then in a different way? Like not get too invested.
Because it's
You still feeding it,
well with
huh?
sports anyway. With sports, it's like worship because people worship these people.
Yeah.
They're wearing their
That's the
names on
thing.
their backs, and
That's why
yeah,
even
they want to
in music,
be them.
yeah, in music, I don't want to I'm I did idolize a lot of these people like Lil Wayne and Jay-Z and Kanye, but now it's just like I still enjoy all your guys' music for the most part, but I don't idolize you guys no more. I got to a point where the only person I
Yeah,
really idolize is my dad. My dad's my only idol, bro. My dad's my only role model. He's the perfect example that I've had my whole life. Like, and I feel like I am a reflection for the most part of my what I've seen growing up. My parents been together for over 25 years. My mom's first, both each other's first,
that's
partners
amazing.
ever. Yeah, so I was created in us, and I hate when I say stuff like this. I know sometimes people will be like, "Man, Chris, like he's being cocky or whatever." But I was made out of love. My mom wanted to have a kids. They were trying to have kids, and the day I was born, like I'm the only one that was born the day that they said I was supposed to be born. And I'm a 33 life path, bro. And that's why I be tripping out. My mom tells me certain things, but I'm like, that's crazy. Like she's like, yeah, you're the only one that came out natural, but like I had a hard time with you, but I didn't give in. And I'm like, you came the day that they said you were gonna come, and like and I'm like, that's wild. And I was born a day after my dad's birthday, so it was like my dad's present, So it's crazy, bro. Like it just and all my siblings, we've had an amazing life. Like they left me this house, and then they left my
Yeah,
siblings
that's
in
amazing.
South Carolina and another house, and now they're in Florida, So they have
Oh
three houses
wow,
now. So it's just
that's amazing.
yeah, man, it's amazing. It's amazing, and seeing that example my whole life. My dad actually was a college graduate, went to school. He's an engineer, civil engineer. Like has a profession. Like I've had the best example my whole life. I cannot say like,
Wow.
damn, my parents are just like whatever. So I always feel bad because I feel like I don't feel like like where I work at now. I don't know. I don't make more money than my dad. I want to make more money than my dad. Not even in a bad way, but that's how it should be. You should make more than the ones before you. So hopefully I make this podcast
Right.
shit pop, bro, because I'm trying to build an empire.
Yeah. Well, hey, if it keeps going the way it is, the simulation is going to break, and money's not going to be worth a thing. So
Yeah,
it,
see, I know I shouldn't be thinking about money to be honest, but to me, I don't know if this is wrong that I think like this, but I feel like financial freedom is probably the best way to break the matrix. Cause I know money doesn't matter, but when you really do have a lot of money, money really doesn't matter, and then you can do whatever you want, whenever you want,
right.
however you want. And I think that's what I'm aiming for, and I think that's not good though because I'm still chasing the money.
Right.
And this
Yeah.
has been
Well,
fun.
I mean, but you're chasing the freedom is more.
That's
That's
true. Nah,
what seems like to me is like you want the freedom, and the money brings the freedom.
that's how I look at it. That's how I
But
look at it.
I mean, yeah,
But
and
but
it certainly
But the money,
can.
but the money
Uh,
doesn't bring the freedom. Like the freedom comes within. Like you free
no, it
yourself,
doesn't.
right?
It brings more chains. Yeah, yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So I get that.
the money, uh, and you don't need necessarily to have $100,000 in the bank to be like, okay, I'm going to go do this, this, and this. You don't even need 10,000. Say you have $1,000 in the bank, right? And you just have enough money just to get started, and you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It's just going to come back, and it's going to fill up, and it's going to fill up, and it's going to fill up. Like you were saying earlier about you wanted to give Una that $100 right away. When I see different homeless people, sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to give, and I'll give money to people. But
Yeah.
this one day, this lady, so this was after a few days in a row where I saw homeless people and I gave them money. This lady comes up to my truck, in my work truck, in the parking lot, and she looks like, she wants to go smoke some crack right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how she's dressed.
Yeah.
I'm in the hood, and she just comes up and she knocks on the door, and I just don't get a good vibe, and I'm like, I can't help you. And then later on, I only had $20 on me. So later on, some guy selling vegetables at a vegetable stand, right? And I go up there and I spend that $20 there, and I just get this communication I have with my higher self, and he's like, do you think that guy was more worthy of that $20 than that woman was? What was she going to spend that money on? This guy, what did he do to earn that money? So it's like, why were you going to give somebody money for no reason when you could give people money who need the money, who are working hard to earn that money? And it's like, it fucked me up. It was like, oh, wait a second. So now, it's saying like, don't just give anybody your help. Not anybody is just going to
Mm-hmm.
receive your help. And
Yeah.
it's, you want to save the world, but the world doesn't want you to save it.
Yep.
So it's like, help out the people that want it. They're putting themselves out there and they're saying,
Yeah.
I want it, come help me.
Yeah.
And I'm selling these vegetables or whatever you're doing, and it's,
Mm-hmm.
we just got to find the people who we want to communicate with and interact with. And that's who we got to give our attention to, and our time and our money and those types of things. Like,
Yeah.
is the person worth our because money is our stored energy.
Yeah.
Like I work 10
Mhm.
hours today and I make $150.
Yeah.
Like that $150 is hard work that I put in to that.
Mhm.
So it has to be
True.
worth where we're sending it to, and who we're giving it to. And that's the same thing with our attention and anything else like that.
To me, it's just
So no, go ahead.
to me, it's just if you catch me on a good day, if I have cash on me and you catch me on a good day, I might shoot you some cash. I don't even care, because I when it comes to those people, bro, like I get 100% what you mean, giving money to the ones that are actually selling some stuff that are trying to like, not just do, oh, give me, like here I got this, you want this. So I'm more for that. But then even the ones that are just like, oh, give me, I just don't like when they tell me, oh, I need a few change to buy some food or some this. It's like, no, like just tell me like, bro, I'm trying to get high. And then I can decide how much I want to give you, and if I want to feed that addiction or not,
Right.
But sometimes if you
Right.
catch me on
Right.
a good day, because sometimes, bro, I'm like, you know what? This $5 is that high, that even though it's bad for you, it can make your day. It's all about perspective too. That's how I look at it too. I can make this person's whole day just by him getting high. And if my $5
Right.
does that to him, then hey, so be it. But hopefully, I'm gonna take your word and you do what you're gonna say you're gonna do with it. But I know 9 times out of
Right.
10, you're not. And I've had this experience where one time, I got to the store and this guy comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, brother, can you spot me like $2? So I can get it, to fill up my tank, and so I can get I just need $2 so I can get enough for the gas." I'm like, "Oh yeah, for sure." I ended up getting him $5, and
Yeah.
I walk into the store. I come back out, and then I see him still asking for money, and then I ask him, I'm like, "Hey," and I ended up like walking past him. I'm like, "Hey, I thought you only need like $2 more to like fill up your tank or whatever." And he starts making up another excuse, and I'm like, "Ah, yeah, all right, whatever." And that's when I get upset because it's like, just tell me
Right.
the truth, like just tell me the truth.
Right. Right. And what I was saying, it's not that, we should never give to homeless people or anything, because some people, they've had bad things
Oh
happen,
yeah, but I
or
get you
hard
though.
times fell and all that. But just like that woman, just that example that happened to me, because I was giving homeless people money several
Yeah,
times, days in a row, or,
yeah,
and God
yeah,
was sending me like, oh, do you want to keep doing that, huh?
yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
So,
wouldn't give someone just a whole 20
it's
either.
just,
Like, nah.
be careful with how we're moving.
Yeah, that's true.
So I got one more question here before we wrap up, because we've been on like what,
2
2 hours and
hours?
10 minutes or
Damn.
so.
That
It was a
story
good
was long.
conversation though.
It's a
Yeah,
long ass story.
yeah, it was a good story.
I'm not telling that story no more. I'm sending everyone to
uh,
this podcast. Like, listen to this one. This is where I say it all.
yeah,
Don't hit me up
definitely
no more.
send everybody here.
Yeah.
So, you've gone through a lot with your spiritual awakening. Obviously, you've experienced a lot more than you even talked about here. So, what are some of the things that you like to do that bring you peace? So, ground you, and just, do you have a meditative ritual,
I don't.
routine, or is there anything you practice regularly?
I've been avoiding
Like
all that.
something, what brings you peace on a regular basis?
Yeah, see, I need to incorporate a lot of those practices. Honestly, what brings me peace is podcasting, potting, bro. Like I really, and honestly, creating my own world now. I'm past the rabbit holes. I'm past the conspiracies. I'm at the point too where it's like, okay, I know what I know. I don't look like nothing's gonna change, and that may sound like you can say, oh well, if you keep thinking like that, everyone thinks like that, then yeah, nothing's ever gonna change. I get that, but I'm at the point where most of these people don't care what's going on out here. And I'm tired of starting arguments. I don't care no more. Like you safe, you doing you, go get vaccinated, go do whatever you want to do. But just let me do whatever I want to do. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
But what's bringing me really peace is that now I'm finally just focusing on creating my brand again. I've been fixing up my studio. I'm about to have just everything's about to be just an upgrade around here as far as audio quality, video quality. But on my side, what I'm gonna start doing, I'm gonna start bringing more content. I just want to create a lot of content. I have a lot of ideas for different shows, different podcasts. I want to bring my overly blunt podcast back because I need something that's I can build that's not gonna get taken down. Like this one will get taken down. Eventually if it does, whatever. Maybe
Yeah.
start a Patreon and have extra content. But this is really what's been grounding me. Just finally getting back to creating and then seeing the reception that Conspiracy's been getting and then I had a humbling experience in this past January. I got injured. My sciatica got injured. And honestly, since my birthday, since October, my birthday was October 28th of on 2020, and I got injured. I got my neck got injured. I fell asleep wrong in the car, woke up, and I was like this. I couldn't even look up. Felt so hunched, and it was bad. Ended up going to the physical, what's it called? The chiropractor.
Chiropractor.
Yeah, for I've been going since November. I just stopped about a few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago. Went and then I started just getting I had reverse curvature, so I started getting my spine fixed and getting it corrected. Did that for 3 months. The last week that I was about to the last week that I had, I ended up messing my sciatica up too. And again, that was weird too because it happened sleeping. I slept on this like on my leg, and I thought I was just asleep when I woke up and went to my room. And the next day it felt weaker. It felt weird. I never felt it like that. And it started hurting more. And eventually the following day I couldn't walk. I was in bed. I was just like, it hurt to walk, hurt to bend down, it was crazy. And then I was on bed rest. Um, couldn't walk for like a week. Then was on a cane for like 2 weeks. Started signing up for more therapy at the chiropractor. And I'm still going to physical therapy, working on my lower back. Finally getting, I had gone back to work, and I've been on disability since January. So it's been a blessing though, because like the podcast has gone so much traction within the months that I've been off, because all my attention has just really been going into building this, reaching out to guests. And yeah, so now like I see the vision, and my brother, is helping me out too. Just
That's
was
amazing.
Invested in me in a dope way, towards like, build up your studio. So shout out to him. And I have my boy Dennis is always does all my artwork. I have the pieces, I have the pieces to build a team and the network that I want to build. And that's really what's been keeping me grounded, bro. But I need to start incorporating like a morning ritual, like waking up and doing yoga. Well, the only thing I do in the morning is my stretches, right? For my sciatica.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so I do all that. I have my routine. But I need to start burning some like sage again in the morning. I used to do that. I used to do my stretches and burn sage while I do them. And meditation, though, I need to get into that, bro. I need to get more into just
being zen,
stillness.
quieting the mind.
Yeah. Because even when I try, my mind's always just racing. It's always just, I'm always thinking of something. And then I start thinking like, okay, don't think about nothing. Don't think about nothing. But then I'm thinking about not thinking about nothing. So it gets very weird.
Right. Well,
How do you do it?
and it takes a while. So I've been meditating for like 2 years now. Every morning I meditate.
Outside?
And now I do. I used to do it just in my apartment or in my work truck.
Okay.
But now I do it on my porch. Yeah, because I'm a truck driver. So when my old job, I used to bring my truck home, so I would meditate in my truck before I went to work that day. So and it helped me connect to the truck. So like spiritually, like I could control the truck with my mind. It felt like I'm just one with it. Like it was
like
so
Power
good.
Rangers and Tommy.
Yeah, you want to talk about numerology, man. My mileage every single day was giving me like crazy
33.
readings. Yeah, it would be like 11, 11. The next day, 1, 2, 3, 4, all types of weird stuff. But what you were saying, ground you, is truth. Speaking the truth and being creative. They're two, high qualities of God. And being God is what makes us feel the best. Being love, being true, and being creative. And it seems like you got the foundation for that in immense ways with your family. How much love they're giving you and support. That's amazing.
Oh yeah. And this is the first time that I haven't worked for this long. I'm on January, February, March, April, May. I'm on my 4th month of not working, right? So I never had this long of a break even from work. And it's just giving me that glimpse of this is what I can do if I really just put my all into podcasting, eventually start selling some merch maybe. And I can make a living off this. And I know I can, bro. I know I'm a special being. I don't say that in a cocky way. I know what I bring to this. I bring a whole different element to this conspiracy game. I'm out of all the I'm not cocky saying this, but out of all the podcasts, even that are going, all of those small podcasts that are popping, I feel like I'm different. I have just a different sauce and a different vibe to me, and I can relate to the hip hop culture, and that's what I'm really trying to bridge. I'm really trying to bridge the hip hop community with the kind of the truth or conspiracy community, because I feel like I'm a combination of Joe Budden mixed with Sam Tripoli. That's what I feel like I am, and that's what I feel like I bring to I bring to this game. And so that's why like I've always wanted to be a podcasting, you know, a podcaster, but Conspiracy happened to be the one that's giving me the listeners. So cool. And I'll keep building up this one because this is my truth telling one. I love the conversations that I'm having on this podcast, bro. I love that I'm able to connect with you because of Conspiracy, you know. So that to me is that's why I do it. That's why I'm focusing on Conspiracy right now. But I don't always want to talk about this. I also like to joke around a lot. I'm very annoying. I'm very just say blunt things. I like to get high and just be goofy, you know. So I feel like I need a podcast to do that on as well. And that's what I used to do in my other podcast. And you know, I have actual video of my last pod, and I was onto something even then. I'm like, if I had an audience already, like this show would be a hit. It's just that that's what I have to work on, building my audience.
Yeah.
So now, you know, I see this shit, I see it building, I see the followers growing. So it's like, man, people tuning in, and I like it. But now I know I have to just give them more, start shooting more.
Here's you're big into hip hop. I'll give you two rappers that will blow your mind. They rap about Jesus, right? But I like to say that they rap about their awakening, and Jesus was just there for awakening. So their names are KB and Lecrae.
Lecrae, I know who Lecrae is.
Okay, yeah, he
I don't
has
know
the
who KB
record.
is.
So Lecrae has the record Reach Records is his record label, and he signed all these different rappers. There's a bunch of them. KB's one of them. KB might be the most talented. He's like the Drake version.
Whoa.
Like the vastness.
I love Drake, bro. I love Drake. I know he's demonic.
Yeah, he is. But like the vastness of his styles, how he can do. So this guy, he speaks Spanish. He sings. He raps hard. Like,
oh shit!
Listen to him. He's not a Christian
KB?
rapper. Yeah, KB.
Okay, I'm gonna check him out.
I mean, he's a Christian rapper, but not. You know, he's not your mom's Christian rap. You know, I mean, like he's in it.
Yeah,
so
I'm into a lot of things, bro. That's the thing, and I get bored of stuff quickly, so I can't always do conspiracy stuff because even now, like I feel like I do my podcast no justice because I'm over keeping up with politics. I'm over keeping up with conspiracies because I just don't care. It don't catch my attention anymore. And I'm like, my show is called Chrisxpiracy too, so I have to. Sometimes I feel like there's aliens on my cover, so I feel like I have to deliver a certain type of concept, but at the same time, it's like, nah, it's conspiracy. Like it's whatever I want to talk about is my conspiracy. So but now I'm able to always incorporate different things. So I like that I'm able to have people come on and talk about like astrology, numerology, and like even having like Hotep Jesus do my show, which I was like, yo, what the fuck? Like, this guy, him and Nick Hinton with big platform. Yeah, I'm just like, man, these people are doing my show. So yeah, it's been. I love this journey.
That's how I felt when you're doing my show. I'm like, man, Chrisxmatt's doing my show because you're my first interview. Actually, you know, really? I haven't even interviewed. Yeah, I haven't interviewed anybody yet because I've been telling my story. See, what my podcast is about: the goodness overcoming the darkness.
But you're onto something, bro.
You know, so I'm just talking. Yeah, just to get everybody involved and, you know, to connect with everybody. So the first 10 episodes so far have been about me, but, you know, now I'm going to start interviewing people.
But I like that.
Go ahead.
I like that. I'm going to give some game out right here, guys. This is some game. I love podcasts. I really studied podcasts and shit. I pride myself. Like at the end of the day, I hope people are tuning into Chrisxpiracy because of me. You know, like the guest should be the cherry on top. The guest should be like, oh shit. But Chrisxpiracy is becoming a guest-based show, right? And initially, I took that approach as well as you because on my last show, I'm Overly Blunt podcast, I had a co-host. But when I came and did Chrisxpiracy, I came in solo. I was like, I'm gonna just do this one solo because I felt confident to record, you know, hour plus solo. You know, I feel like I was able to do it, and I can do it. And I did the same thing you did. And I did the first like probably 8-10 episodes were just me. I was gonna incorporate guests, but I was gonna sprinkle them in. It wasn't gonna be a consistent every week basis. But then eventually the way it turned out when after I did the human vibration episode, it threw me into a conspiracy world, and I was able to bring in. I started reaching out to everyone. I started popping everyone's podcast cherry. You know, like the Murphs and the Brother Bergs and the A lot of people on my show, like I'm the first one that they do the eyes, you know. I mean, he does my show first, so and that's dope to me. That I mean, they trust me enough to never have spoken to me ever. I just DM them, hey, would you guys like to do my show? Blah blah blah, and they say yes. I'm like, what the hell? Like that's crazy. And to
That's
see where
working
how,
with that's working
yeah,
with me.
just
With you and a couple other people.
So, but initially I wanted to start Conspiracy, and I wanted to just be about me and just me do solo and no guests. But I'm like, whatever. I'm gonna ride this wave, and eventually I'm gonna do other stuff where it's just you know me. Like I have so many ideas for shows, so many ideas.
Hey, when we all look back on our lives, it's always the evolution of us. We can go look back at who we were at this stage, at this stage, at this stage, and you know, your podcasting is just a microcosm of that.
But it's a side of me too. It's a part of me. Because I do love conspiracy. I do love all that stuff, man. I love spirituality. I love talking about crystals, and I just love all that. Talking about the planet, even though I know maybe none of this stuff will ever happen, whatever. But I love talking about stuff that's not everyone's talking about. Alternative media, occult knowledge. I love all that, man.
Yeah, and it helps a lot when people, you know, they don't have anywhere to learn this type of stuff. You know, when I learned everything I learned, I guess it was beneficial because I was able to learn it from myself for the most part. I didn't have a spiritual guide. I didn't get into any particular practice with anybody leading me. But I found like all these answers and realized that everybody can do what I did. So, you know, I just want to have the conversation with someone like you that knows the same type of thing, and we put that out there, and then people can start listening to it themselves, and then they can realize the things that took me, you know, months and years to figure out. Like they can figure it out in one conversation.
Yeah, I never said this, bro. I never said this.
For.
I never said this, but I'm gonna say this on your show. I'm gonna say why I really do podcasts though. Like why I'm really got more invested into it. Not only I've always been a talker. I like to talk and I like to just rant. I'm very passionate. I always talk loud too. I'm a loud person. But the main reason why I really stick to podding is because I'm tired of talking about this stuff really with everyone like out and about. Like, if you guys want to know what I think, go push play. And if you don't, that's fine. But my word and my views and how I look at stuff is documented and it's out here. And you can go back and you can push play and you can listen. So you can talk. Someone can be talking to me right now and I can be at their level. I could be a dumbed down to their level and just talking to them, talking a regular conversation. And I bet you if they found out that I talk about the stuff that I talk about and they probably listen to it, they'd be like, yo, Chris, I never knew you were into all that stuff. And it's like, and that's where I'm at, where I don't care to talk about it no more because you can't convince anyone. I've seen everyone has their own journey. We're all gonna get back to the creator or go back to who, you know, God, whatever. We're all gonna go back individually in our own way, in our own journey. So I can't inflict the healing onto someone. I can't show you what's up, bro. I have the tools. If you're curious, come reach out. I got you. But you don't want them right now, and that's fine. But they're out there. They're right here. Go push play. Right. And that's why I do them now, because I don't care to tweet no more. I don't care to post information no more. I'm having jokes on Twitter now. I'll give a little bit of information here and there, but now it's all jokes and fun and games. And this is where I get serious. This is where I throw my. This is where I'm go push play. Right. That's really why I podcast now.
Yeah, because you can't tell nobody nothing. You can, I mean, you can talk to your blue in the face. Nobody's going to believe you. It doesn't matter if you're a scientist and you're talking science, or if you're a NBA player and you're talking basketball. If someone doesn't want to listen to you, they're not going to listen to you. So that's exactly how I look at it. And just if you want to hear my thoughts on it, episode here, just go check it out.
That's why I respect that you had your first episode with you, because like I was listening a little bit to the one about when you talk about your sexual, how you've been, your sexual history since you were 7 and stuff. And I'm like, damn, I was late in the game, and I'm like, imagine at 7. But I like that because you're transparent. It's like me, like we just say it. We don't care. We don't care what people think. That's why we pod. Like, don't push play. Go listen to another podcast. You don't have to listen to my podcast, but thank you if you do. Thank you if you really, for real, if you're here and you listen, thank you so much. But You don't have to listen to this. And that's why even when I drop my episodes, bro, and it sounds so selfish when I say this, I don't care what the listeners want to hear from me. I put out what I want to listen to. I put out what I want to push play on. Because once you start doing it for the listeners, you're always gonna be, what do you guys want to listen to? What do you guys want from me? It's like,
trying to
nah,
please
dude,
someone else.
give them what you want to give them, bro. And if they fuck with it, they fuck with it, and they're gonna stay and they're gonna become a fan of you. They're gonna support. You know, you don't have, like, let the product speak for itself. That's how I've always, since the beginning, I've done that. Since the beginning, I've always ran my podcast. I don't care if I remember people should tell me like, "Oh, Chris, do a solo podcast, leave your co-host," because I had a co-host on my last one, and I didn't care. I was like, nah, I want co-hosts on my show, and I'm a build up with them. Like, I don't care what you guys want to see. Was that probably affecting the show?
Right.
Probably, but that's what I wanted to hear. So I appreciate that you put out your about you. You're transparent with us before you start getting your guests involved, before you start getting the fun part. Because if people ask questions like, "Hey, bro, go listen to 1 through 10," I kind of let you know about me.
Yeah, and especially, that stuff is stuff that I never told anybody. And letting it out here, I know for sure that it's helping other people talk about their stuff. And
you never know who's listening.
Right. And it's something that you never know. You don't know what you don't know. And someone hears something and it gives them courage, and then you find out something because of this courage that they had, and it's like now they can heal. And it's this trauma that was there, and maybe you thought everything was okay because they put on a good face for a while, and then all of a sudden you find out this information, and it's that's life. My parents, when they found out that by listening to the show, it's like something I couldn't really tell them. I'm like, you gotta go listen to it. That's something hard to talk about. So
it's therapy,
it was
bro.
pretty devastating for sure.
I feel like every one of my episodes, it's therapy, and I'm unlocking a new level of myself. I shed a layer of myself every episode. It's self-realization, something I realize about myself every episode, and I love it. I love them, bro. I love what's been happening with the show and everyone I've been meeting, and the community that actually wanted messing with homie, that I was trying to force by moving with love and not really being me and not really trusting my gut. That community that I wanted, I'm building it my way. I'm building the way I want to do it on my time, through my podcast too, connecting with souls all over the United States. I just recorded yesterday, Sunday, with someone from Italy. Like,
oh wow,
like it's like what Chrisxpiracy has done in such short amount of time, bro. It's like I can't. Like, I already won in my eyes. I already did what I wanted to do with my podcast. I'm at the stage where, it's sad to say, like, how can I make money off this now? What can we do? How can we monetize? And I don't like that because it makes it not fun anymore. And I'm glad that I don't need podcasting money, but I do want it to be my lit. I want a network. I want to bring content to people. So
I struggle with that. Well, not struggle, I'm early onto it, but like thinking like, oh, I'm never going to monetize. But then I'm like, but I do want to be able to do this, and I do need to somehow make money. And I'm never, I have psychic gifts that I'm not going to profit off of. I don't necessarily judge other people for doing that, but I think for me, if I'm going to help someone from a gift from God, I'll just help them. Like last night I meditated with someone. I taught him how to meditate. It's like I'm not taking money for that. But then again, it's like, but that could be so useful if I could do that with my time. So I don't hate on anybody for charging, but it's where's that fine line of how can I do this and do it while still taking care of the rest of my life, which money is ultimately does for us. So it's a fine line that we got to walk. And I think that when we're doing the right thing will appear to us when we're ready for it. When we get to that level to unlock it, then we'll unlock it and it'll be there.
Yeah. That's how I look at it too. I'm taking a dip. I've learned to also live in the present during all this stuff, in my journey. I'm done trying to really focus on why I was the way in the past or why I didn't do something in the past. And because if I did it, because I used to dwell a lot on why I didn't do something in the past, because right now I'll probably be like this, so I'll be also dwelling on the future, and it's like I forget to live right now, presently. So I've learned to just take it day by day. And this injury that just happened to me was like a blessing in disguise. It was really humbling, never needed help in my life, but to finally just surrender and ask for help. My mom flew in to take care of me, because I needed assistance. And it woke me, it just made me realize, man, I need to ask. And that's why I started reaching out back to my friends, like, bro, I need help. I need help with this vision. I need help with my video. I need help with certain things. Like I need help, let's build something. I can make something work for us, and I know
Wow.
I could. So that's why but it goes back to like then getting money involved and friendships start getting kind of shaky. And then
Yeah.
it's gonna get tricky, but that financial freedom that I want, this can provide it for me, and I know it can. And that was always my goal even before Chrisxpiracy. So that's why I don't want people to think like, oh, now he's trying to make money. Like, nah, that was always my goal. Because Chrisxpiracy just happened to work. It's working faster because
Right.
of the listeners. And thank you guys. Thank you to all the listeners that are tapped in every week, bro. Because now I feel like if I don't drop if I don't drop an episode in a week, people are gonna ask, yo, what happened with the episode?
Right.
So I see the interaction now. I see it building. So
Hey, well, you said with your sciatica, I see that as God breaking you down to build you back up. Uh,
yeah, I hit
I
rock
had
bottom.
I had a real bad injury, not sciatica, but in order for me to, throw up, purge that demon, I said I had a really
Mm-hmm.
bad injury that popped open my root chakra. So I couldn't walk for days, but I'm still working. I'm a delivery driver, and I was still working. I couldn't bend over, and I'm picking up 100-pound things, and it's just like it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
But it was God broke me down. It was in January. God broke me down to build me back up, and now my back is like indestructible. Now I can lift up, like for real. I'm like 10 times stronger than I ever was. I can pick up things like 200
What did
pounds
you
of stuff.
What did you
Well,
do?
so I'm a truck driver. I deliver foods, and I had chicken and cheese filled up on a hand truck, and I was pulling it, and the wheels didn't come up the little lip, going up a step. The wheels didn't go up. Instead, the whole thing just fell on me. I slipped. I lost
Mm,
my footing, and I landed. It was like 400 pounds of product just smack dab
damn.
landed on me, and I landed on my root chakra on the floor, and I thought I was paralyzed when it happened. I couldn't feel my legs. That was the first thought was I can't feel my legs, and I speak a little bit of Spanish, and I'm delivering to Hispanic restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
and there's only 2 Mexican women, and they don't speak any English, and I'm in so much pain that I can't think of any words in Spanish, and I'm just like, get this off of me, like help, and they're trying to get it off, right, and then it was off of me, but I can't feel my leg, so I still thought it was on me, and then I couldn't really get out. I had to put my hands on the ground and slide myself out because I couldn't move my legs. But I still finished work that day and finished work the next day. And it was the day after that
What
I
the
thought
fuck?
I threw up that demon after laughing with my daughter and my girlfriend. But as soon as it happened, as soon as my back hit the ground, I saw a flash of my root chakra cracked open and all this sludge, psychic sludge, just being released out of me. And it was like, and now God has strengthened my back, and I can lift up like 300 pounds with no problem. I can just like toss shit that's 100 pounds. Like, I mean, it's just ridiculous to me anymore. And it's not that I got strong all of a sudden, but whatever happened to my back, you know, when it healed, it never hurt again. And it made me so much stronger. Like, it's crazy. I'll throw around a thing of 100 pounds, a big old package of 100 pounds of beef with my left hand. I'm right-handed. I could just pick it up with one hand and toss it. Like, it's ridiculous.
What are you doing to build up your back? Just
I did.
meditation or just
I didn't do anything. It was just, that was just the process. I
filling up?
aligned my chakras. That's
Yeah.
I get my whole life is basically a ritual. I just am
Mm,
I'm just observing it, and I realize it's a ritual while I'm in it. Where after I finish it, I'm like,
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, so
I
all
like
sorts of
that.
stuff. You know, I have so much weird psychic stuff happen to me all the time, but you know, that's going to be a podcast in itself in the future.
Yeah.
I'm going to get that ready, but right now for my first one, you know, I want to connect with everybody. I want to
Yeah.
connect with, you know, spiritual awakening. I want to connect with someone who doesn't believe a conspiracy theory or spiritual thing at all, who has a story too, so I can maybe reach them a little bit. So yeah, that's
I'm
what.
excited for you, bro.
Thank you. I'm excited too. I got a couple big guests coming on that I DM'd. You know, just like you. I just DM a few people and they're like, yeah, I'll do it. Like I love the name of the show. That's what everyone always says. They're like, I love the name of the show. I'm like, yeah,
God
man, it
is
just
what
came to me.
is
Godcast.
Godcat
Yeah,
Godcast? That's what it's called?
Godcast, the Goodness Over Darkness
God
podcast. So that's what
goodness
the
over
GO.
there.
Yeah, that's what the God stands for, and
Yeah.
Godcast. Yeah, yeah. So
Darkness. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, darkness over, yeah, greatness over darkness. No, is it
yeah.
greatness over darkness?
Goodness over darkness.
Goodness over darkness podcast. I like it. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so I'm real excited about that. But I think we almost hit 3 hours
I
here.
know, bro. We can go on for hours to be honest, but man, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no, thanks for having you know, I mean, thanks for coming on, and I'll definitely have to have you on in the future. But I'm gonna get ready to stop the recording here. Don't hang up though, all right? All right,
Okay.
so everybody, you know, this was my first guest, amazing guest at that, with some amazing stories. I want you guys to go check him out. Well, so why don't you tell us where we can find all your information?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Chrisxmatt, and just click the link in my bio, and you can hear Conspiracy on all platforms except Spotify. Spotify banned Conspiracy, and
That's crazy.
yeah, because it's so early, because I'm so a small of a podcast. I'm like, dang, y'all tripping over a few hundred listens. Like, relax, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
um, you get but then Overly Blunt podcast is on all streaming platforms as well, and YouTube TV. YouTube is Overly Blunt TV, and you guys can see all the conspiracy episodes on there as well. They're just audio, but they are on there as well. And then you can listen to the Overly Blunt podcast on there, and they are videos. Yeah.
All right. Well, there you have it. If anybody, you know, wants to hear more from Chris, I suggest you go listen to his podcast. He has, you know, I've only got the chance to listen to a few of the episodes, but they're really good episodes. He has
Thank you.
some really good people on there, and you can find real information from real people, and that's what these conversations are about. You know, if you are here listening to me, then it's because you like my realness, and you know, I
Yeah.
have Chris on because he's real, and
Yeah.
he's having conversations with real people. So in a
Mhm.
world where everything's fake, you know, you want to find the real people, and you want to feel the connection, because that's the only thing that's actually real, is what you feel.
Yep.
So you know, if anything that you guys hear on this podcast inspires you or motivates you, send me an email at the great chakra awakening 777 at gmail.com. You know, send me in your story, and or if you need some assistance, you can look me up. Now I'll have all the links in the show notes here, but I think that's going to do it. Thanks again for coming on, Chris, and everybody
Godcast.
else. Have a great night.